structures been put on these lots in any way that somebody wished to, because we had no ordinances. But to get back to today, where you have a double lot, you have a lot of room off the other side of your house where you could put this thing, and even make it bigger if you wanted to. So I have concern about Mr. Aspinall's property, not just runoff, but the fact that you're encroaching on him. We do have ordinances that tell us what our setbacks are to be, and in order to break those ordinances, means we're breaking the law, the town law. And I think it takes exceptional, not desire necessarily from the homeowner, but need to break these ordinances. So I'm really not in favor of putting your house over the line, because I think you do have an option. You can go in front, you could go to the other side, and it's unfortunate that it may disturb the layout of your home, but that's how I feel about it.
And we'll have more discussion once the public
Right.
portion of this closes. So any other questions from Mr. Davis?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further last comments from the public? Good? Okay, thank you very much. I'll close the public portion of this application and open it up to board discussion. And like I always like to, Scott, seeing the property, I'm not asking you, you're not gonna make our decision or anything, but just any comments that you would like to make with seeing the property and knowing what the project is.
No, I mean, it's just, it is what you find a lot around Raymond, to begin with to Louise's point, that it's a typical throw the house up, and I think we're close enough to the lot type of a building back in the day.
Yeah.
Scott, do you have any idea when that house was originally built?
I do.
Just for
Around
our
that-
knowledge, it has nothing to do with this thing.
Certification for occupancy was issued in 1982 for an attachment, but it doesn't go back to
Yeah.
the original house.
Yeah.
Is that my house?
Yeah,
Can I speak? Because it's 2004.
2004.
Yeah, remember there was a bunch of wrong paperwork in the folder?
Okay, why don't you
Oh,
step
yeah.
up to the microphone real quick? You're gonna-
We had reviewed the folder and there's a bunch of paperwork in there that's incorrect. So I believe the house was built in 2004. There is one drawing in there. It was a hand sketch with the original permit.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, we ran into some of his permits were in another folder where they shouldn't have been, and it was just because of the way the lot numbers went. It's kind of screwed up everything. It was, we find that once in a while in some of those lots. But yeah, it was, I do remember that. It's not in here, but I do remember looking at it, and
I was just curious.
yeah, it's relatively new for
For
what it was,
small
yeah.
ones, development.
exactly.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I mean, I hear your concerns, Louise, and I want to respect Mr. Aspinall's concerns, obviously, because he lives next door. I think the question I would have is if we say, no, you've got all this, you've got a double lot, you could put the garage, there is a lot of room over there. It wouldn't make any sense with the flow of the home. And one thing we will have to consider when we go through the ordinance is how much we're going to increase the portions of the impervious portions of the area. And you'd have to put a second driveway in, so that's something to consider. If we're talking runoff and concerned about runoff coming down the hill towards the road.
If you look on, you can't see it, but on Google Earth, he does where he has his intention for the proposed addition. That is gravel currently.
Yep.
So it is an impervious coverage
It
there
doesn't
already,
change.
but it's not the full width of what he's asking for. But there is, looks like there's probably, I'm guessing 14, 16 feet worth of gravel there, width-wise.
Actually, the whole addition will land within
Wasn't that gravel?
what's existing,
It's
so
like it covers.
the whole addition will fall within what's currently driveway. So the only thing that would be altered would possibly be just around the edge of it. So when they dig out for the foundation and stuff like that. But everything, the driveway space is actually laid out on that drawing if you have it there.
Yeah, yeah.
So the proposed addition would fall,
Some of it will be on it and there'll be
Yeah, well-
no change,
Yeah,
no
like
other
you s-
change except for a little bit around the edge maybe.
yeah, just whatever they have to do as they do the earthwork around the property. But yeah, you remember when I had the stakes in there, they were out into the actual driveway itself.
And like I said, you know, something else for us to consider is that we have the ability to put all kinds of conditions on this to, if we think those would alleviate the concerns that Mr. Asbell has about runoff or washout or whatnot. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Anyone? I can walk through the ordinance and just a couple, this is a non-conforming lot. It's a legal non-conforming lot. It's two lots that are together. This is LRR1. And the required setbacks, according to section 15 in the land use standards, on the side is 20 feet. That's what we're talking about. And he's requesting it down to, will it be 10 feet or 11? I think it says 11.8 on here, just so we have that
So I
exact.
put in my request for 11, or for the 10 feet. On that drawing, it shows 11.6 feet. And that actually didn't consider, when I worked with Chris Flynn on that, we put out the full width, we put 26. So it's actually 25 and a half because one wall is incorporated into the house. So to the very drip edge of the roof would be approximately 12 feet and the foundation would be 13 feet.
Okay.
But
To
Raymond,
the edge,
Raymond goes by the drip edge.
right.
So to that drip edge, it'd be approximately 12 feet.
Okay. So it's, I never know how to say that correctly. Is it down to 12 feet?
Yes.
Okay, a reduction down to 12 feet is what we're
Yeah, I had
talking
asked for
about.
the 10 feet just because I didn't want it to get to a point where we were, I know sometimes people will come in and they're like, whether or not they put a trim board on the end of the house or something is the difference between whether it fits or not, and I didn't want to get that tight. I mean, if the board is more comfortable with 12 feet, I'm comfortable that it will fall within that area. That's just going to put it within like an inch and a half or something, and it's, we can do
Okay,
whatever works. I just asked for the 10, like I say, to give that little bit of room, margin of error, I guess you could say. If
okay, thank you.
thanks.
According to section 16G appeals, we do have appeals from decisions under the shoreland zoning provisions and variances from the shoreland zoning provisions are governed by the appeals and variance procedures contained in the shoreland zoning provisions and are not governed by Article 6. According to the powers and duties of the board, we do have the power to grant variance appeals, of which under variance appeals, just so you understand the difference, that's where the Board of Appeals may grant reductions from the minimum setback requirements set forth in section 15A of these provisions, according to the following criteria. So this is what we need to consider to decide whether we think we can approve this setback reduction request or not. 1, the setback reduction appeals are only available to reduce minimum requirements for setbacks of structures from lot boundary lines. Setback reduction appeals shall not be used and are not available from bodies of water as provided in these provisions. So, any comments on that? This is the side setback, it's not closer to the water. So does anyone have any concerns?
No.
Okay. So that one is one that would be met because we are going to the side. 2, setback reduction appeals may only be granted or only available for lots with a residential dwelling as the principal structure. The only structure
Is
on
residential.
this is a principal structure, is a residential dwelling. The Board of Appeals may grant a setback reduction appeal if the board finds that granting the setback reduction will not result in unreasonable interference with the privacy interest of the budding landowner. That's a matter of question and discussion on this. I think there are concerns, just my comments, there are concerns that make sense to me about erosion control and preventing runoff going to the neighbor's property next door. I don't have any paperwork or anything to show me that will necessarily negatively impact the value of the home next door. So I'm not sure about that one. And I know conditions can be put, we can consider conditions to try to lessen the runoff problem.
I think that's what we should do.
Louise?
Once it's there, it'll be there theoretically forever.
Mhm.
And I think, something that's engineered by a legal engineer or something could certainly be considered. But I still have great concern with the angle of the property going toward the neighbors, that
And
even
what is
something
your
could fail and he's gonna have a yard full of water.
Okay, so it's the water runoff into Mr. Aspinall's
That's what
property
really
is your
bothers me.
main
Yeah.
concern. Rick? Any comments?
Looking at everything, I don't see that there would be a major extra amount of runoff in this project, because the building is already being put on an area that's existing. I mean, I can see us making a stipulation that he does make sure that there's some kind of retention or some way to keep any extra water going onto that property. But I don't see that there's gonna be more water from this project.
Scott, can you speak on this one at all, to options of what we could do?
You
or
could
what
put it on the
happened?
conditions that he works with the home association or the road commissioner, just to alleviate any problems with the runoff, and kind of just leave it up to them what they can figure out, but that something should be done. But you could just word it that one of the conditions that he works with the association to alleviate any runoff, worries or problems, or I don't know the correct word on that one, but.
Well, for the road part, that would work. I'm not sure between the homes. That would have to be between the two of them, because the association.
Yeah, he could on that. I mean, his excavator, they could come up with a plan. I mean, basically it would be, you could just ask that he, on his property, that he does alleviate any kind of storm or water runoff from his property.
In what worst case scenario, like Louise said, say they did do something and then it did get worse. That's sort of out of our hands at that point.
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, he can slow the water down getting to there as well by putting like some
Drainage?
crushed stone around the drip edge, anything it'll allow it to come out, but not quickly run off. Anything you can slow it down. He can do something like that. Like I said, an excavator, probably by looking at the land, may know a better way of how to divert it or contain it, so to speak, so it keeps the silt, catches the silt, and allows the water to run.
Joanne?
Yes.
I'd like to say that I disagree with Rick about the difference between a gravel driveway and its conduction of water and a roof.
Mhm.
A roof, it sheets, it comes off in a manner like a river, whereas the gravel will absorb some of it as it comes down. So
But there's still
whatever
gravel
they would,
In front of the driveway, in front of the garage.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what he said.
There's still gravel in front of the garage.
Granted, but I still have concern that somehow they have to conduct the water off the eaves of that building into a dry well, whatever, to keep it from flowing that close to the property line.
I mean, there really isn't any codes as far as if you put your house up and your water diverts over into another property. However, that is, I think by stipulating that he needs to work with containing the water as best as he can is about all you can do for that. I mean, not necessarily containing it, but at least try to hold it so, like I said, with the crushed stone on the drip edge, that'll keep it from running off quickly. He can, like I said, a berm can maybe divert it towards that culvert. There should be a silt bowl there anyway to collect some of that silt before it goes out, if there's any. The other thing is too is gravel itself contains silt, so if we're covering gravel, your silt runoff will actually be less because it's running off to the building and hitting the ground there.
Right.
So if we can catch it before it goes out, that is a possibility. But I mean, it could, like Louise says too, but it also concentrate where it's going to run off. There may be some kind of a drainage on the side of the driveway that he may be able to do to keep it from going there and taking that silt out.
If I may, from Mr. Aspinall, can I ask you a question? You mind stepping up? All these conditions we talked about with the crushed stone around the garage, the berm on the side in between your properties, does any of that alleviate your concerns at all? Do you have, again, want to give you an opportunity to give us what other thoughts, are there any that would alleviate your concern of the water runoff down?
Well, generally speaking, when you have a foundation for a building, whether it be a garage or a home, there's a general pitch that comes from the side of the building away from the building, which is, how much?
It's 6 inches, for 10 feet, it's 6 inches every 10 feet.
So there's going to be if there's only 10 feet there, there's going to be a natural pitch away from the foundation of the garage toward my property in that 10 feet of 6 inches difference. So when that water runs the 10 feet for a 6-inch pitch, and you've only got 10 feet in there approximately to deal with the water, what's going to happen at the end of that? You know, even if he pitches it for 5 feet at 6 inches per 10 feet, so it'd be a 3-inch reduction in the height. There's still going to be an area where something's going to have to be done to collect that water that's coming toward my property. Whether there's enough room, that's my concern. Is there enough room in there to do something? You know, it's you build a brick wall that's 3 feet high to make sure nothing runs over there. Presently, the ground goes up, and there's rocks and trees and things, so it pitches up before it comes down toward my property. So if he's going to have it pitched the way it's normally done beside a building,
But a berm on the edge in between your properties, that wouldn't,
well, like I say, if you have a berm, but you've got the land pitched toward the berm, if it was flat and then there was the berm, I would be less concerned. But the natural pitch is away from a building.
so you wouldn't have any other ideas from Mr. Davis that you would feel good about?
Well, like I say, as far as that particular issue, you know, I would like to see it further away, obviously, and if he, I don't know if he moved the garage forward and didn't have it exactly where he is, then that back corner wouldn't be so close, and it wouldn't be near that area where the water could potentially run down through, and it would give him more room for pitch. You know,
Okay, thank you.
but I guess, you know, if there was a way to put in a good wall that, as opposed to just some rocks or something like that, it would be better.
Okay, thank you. Louise?
I'd like to say, I think we still have to keep in mind of the 100-year storm, or hurricane, or whatever, that's gonna dump a whole lot of water. The other thing is snow load. Snow's gonna slide off that roof, I assume, and that's gonna make an embankment, which is going to creep onto Mr. Aspinall's
The roof
land
will
line
actually be
anyway.
pitched the other direction, so snow won't fall in his direction at all.
I'm sorry,
The roof will be pitched, like, parallel to the road, the
Oh.
way the
Oh,
house is
okay.
now.
Okay.
So it's not gonna, it won't, the roof won't put any runoff or any snow or
Okay.
anything towards the
Alright.
direction of his.
okay, that's better.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right, so that still leaves us with 3. The Board of Appeals may grant a setback reduction appeal if the board finds that granting the setback reduction will not result in unreasonable interference with the privacy interests of the budding landowners. That makes me feel better knowing the roof pitch. I'm really torn here, Mr. Aspinall, because I don't want to, the last thing we want to do is cause water to come down onto your property. So I understand the difficulty with this. Any thoughts, Lynn?
My only thought is, you know, we see this a lot in Raymond, and there's so much technology now, things we can do with runoff, septic systems, et cetera. I'm sure there's a way we can fix this with some kind of conditions. I'm not a contractor, so I don't exactly know what, but it seems to me that we could fix this easily.
And how, what I'm hung up on is how can we guarantee that? Could we say that someone has to work with them on this project to?
Well, I mean, there are free options, so to speak. I believe DEP would come out, so would Cumberland County Conservation. So there wouldn't be any undue burden financially for the landowner. It could be an option. Other ones that you really don't want to get into would be like a gutter or a water collection. I don't think you want to get that detailed with this. Gutters usually don't do well in Maine, so to speak. They can, they're getting better at it, but that would be, I think that would be something that wouldn't want to put that on a stipulation for the building.
I know, I can only speak from my personal experience on my garage, and it's, many years ago, I got a setback reduction next to a right-of-way, and we did all the crushed stone around it for the drip edges to come off of, and we've never had a water issue. Go outside of that, and it is sloping, it's all sloping down, right away from it. Not that that guarantees you anything, but.
Well, if it's properly installed, I mean, if they dig down a foot or so and then put the crushed stone on there, I mean, that's what slows it down.
Yeah.
By the time it builds up or it has that amount of that water in there, by the time it comes up to there, the rest of the water it basically works like what they call a level lip spreader. The water will rise up and go out and not shoot right off, which is what causes the erosion to begin with.
Right. Okay, so with that, do we feel this is causing an unreasonable interference with the privacy interests of the abutting landowners? Who feels that it is not causing an unreasonable interference with the privacy interests of the abutting landowner? You feel that it is? One?
Yeah, I have concern.
Yep.
I have concern.
So that's 3-1, and I will say with that, though, I wanna consider conditions. I'm voting based on that we consider conditions for it. 4, in granting a setback reduction, the Board of Appeals may attach reasonable conditions which it may deem necessary. So with that, can we put in the conditions that we would suggest? I think the first, as Scott said, that Mr. Davis would work with the road association and the road commissioner, who I believe is Mr. Aspinall, to create an erosion control plan for the road. That's 1. I'm just putting the more general ones first, that's Scott.
Understand.
2 would be for Mr. Davis to work with Mr. Aspinall regarding the property lines on the side of the home, and what Mr. Davis could do to prevent water runoff running down into Mr. Aspinall's property. And we can from there put some specifics, like the crushed stone work and,
Yeah, you could put the crushed stone drip edge properly installed around the perimeter of the garage or the addition.
Joanne,
yes.
what I would prefer to see, instead of us trying to engineer this thing,
Mm-hmm.
is to ask Mr. Davis to get a licensed engineer to make a plan for him.
Yeah,
Can we do that?
I agree, that should be
Yeah,
one of the
that would be,
conditions.
can we
I
do
mean-
that?
You can, as a board, can put any conditions you want. Doesn't,
I like
There's
that,
no-
Louise. So it would be for Mr. Aspinall? To work with?
Not Mr. Aspinall, Mr. Davis.
Okay, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, I'm sorry,
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
said, say he shouldn't have to
Yeah, no, Mr. Aspinall shouldn't have to.
pay for that. Mr. Davis, to, tell me how you wanna
have-
word that.
To have a licensed engineer develop a plan, an erosion plan, or whatever you wanna call it, to divert the water away from Mr. Aspinall's land.
I'd put in there as much as possible because you're not gonna cure it all with that, so.
Mr. Aspinall, would that make you more comfortable?
Yes.
And do we need to say to work with a licensed engineer to develop an erosion control plan, develop and put in place?
Yes.
You could say, well, yeah, that are a licensed professional rather than an engineer,
Okay.
because
Licensed
depending on,
Is that clear to you, Mr. Davis? A licensed professional?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I take my plans from somebody and have them come out and look at it and just share that. Water
To
doesn't go.
develop and incorporate or put in place, I'll just say. Then with that, we wouldn't have to be specific with the crushed
Right,
stone, because
Let
that would
them
all be
figure
in
it
the
out.
plan for them to figure out.
I mean, it may be is how you worded it, because part of that was, that also, this crushed stone was also part of it running off
Mm-hmm.
towards the road too as well, not necessarily towards his property.
So putting that, adding that where to the,
Well, I mean, the only place he's gonna be able to do it is out back, cause if his
Yeah.
roof is pitched out front, it's gonna hit
Right.
the,
so we could say including crushed stone on the back side of the garage,
around
but
the,
wouldn't that be part of the?
yeah, I mean, you could all inclusive that it just, that, and being in touch with this, the licensed professional will look at all ways to, catch the rainwater or,
Deal with all the runoff, yeah.
yeah.
Catch runoff from proposed new garage. Okay, so I'll read those again. We have Mr. Davis would work with the road association and the road commissioner to create an erosion control plan for the road. And then for Mr. Davis to have a licensed professional develop an erosion control plan and put this in place to divert water away from Mr. Aspinall's property as much as possible, including all ways to catch runoff from the proposed new garage. Okay. A setback reduction appeal shall not be granted to enable construction or renovation that will create additional dwelling units. And just so everyone's clear, a dwelling unit is one or more habitable rooms designed intended for used for living quarters by one or more persons living together as a family with living, sleeping, sanitary, and cooking facilities, including within the meaning of cooking facilities, a stove, a hot plate, microwave oven, or other device for heating or cooking food. This is going to be attached to the current living space, so we're not creating additional. Is my
And
understanding.
it's not like having a freestanding garage with
Right.
a living space above it.
So does everyone agree we've met that requirement?
Yes.
That's,
Yeah.
it's not a unit that he's creating, so, yep.
A setback reduction appeal shall not be granted to enable construction or renovation that will result in more than one garage on the lot that is subject to the appeal. Everybody's good with that. No setback reduction appeal may be granted that will result in impervious surface lot coverage of greater than 15%. And I think we had there was no concern that I could see from that. Hang on one second. We'll get
Well,
to
you
it.
got a double lot there, so.
Right, I know the total on
Well,
the.
that too, and he's not creating any impervious because he's following in the gravel
In the
footprint.
gravel, yeah, with the
So, which
current.
is already impervious.
Gotcha, thank you very much. So there's no new.
Mhm.
Should we put anything in there about, putting in asphalt in a future date, or? That
No,
it
I don't
has to
think you wanna
remain
get into
gravel?
that. That's more of a financial burden to have put, I mean, asphalt would be great, yes, it keeps the runoff, but reclaim can do it, but I
Well,
don't
it could
think.
make it worse too, because it would,
Well, it can, but it all depends on what's in set. That's kind of why I don't think you'd really want to get into whether or not he has to put asphalt on it or not.
Hang on, let me just capture gravel. No, new, impervious. Okay. And I normally am not supposed to open it back up, and I know we've gone back and forth with this, but I really want to make sure we can try to make all sides happy with this. So I apologize to the board, but I am kind of violating our rule of, did you have one more comment about that, sir?
I guess I'm wondering about the person that does the proposal for the drainage. What kind of, I know you said
Licensed?
license. I guess I'm questioning what that
Would
actually
that go through
means.
you, Scott?
Well, it could be anybody. It could be a lot of times landscapers are licensed in the same, can do the same thing as rather than having an engineer look at it. They deal with the same issues. And so I figured it was best that we left it, give him a kind of little bit of an open area as to what he can do or who he can contact with, as long as they are, a lot of these are licensed.
Don't they have to be licensed for erosion control?
They have to be certified,
Certified?
but that's more on what they're supposed to do while they're working the land.
Yeah, right,
So not so
right.
much
So not
as-
so much the end result.
No.
of what they're putting in. Is everybody okay?
Sure.
You
I
have
mean,
a
and then I
couple-
go back to engineer, you know, I.
Okay, and I would just like to share that one of the board, I'm Diana Martin. Sorry,
you.
I'll sign me in again. One of our board of directors and a resident in our neighborhood is an actual engineer, licensed and working for Woodward and Curran in Portland. And he is readily available to both Mr. Aspinall and Mr. Davis. We have that, they have that accessible to them.
Thank you. I don't know if we can dictate a
Yeah, who you have to
No.
go see.
person at this
No.
point.
He
No.
certainly would be useful though
Yeah.
to oversee.
Yeah, I mean, Woodward and Karn, I mean, I've worked with them before when I was in Gorham. They are very, very good. If they have that ability, that's great.
But I don't think it's for us.
I wouldn't,
to-
yeah, I think you'd just leave it open, and
Yeah.
if that's who they use, then great.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, that's a great suggestion. You guys heard that, so that's open for, but as we've said, a licensed professional, so. I mean, I don't know that we can have you review the plan or make sure that it's a proper licensed professional that does
Well,
this.
I mean, you could have them, they could submit a plan for runoff. They can do that.
Erosion control
yeah.
plan to you.
Yeah.
I hate to put more on you.
Oh, no, I mean, it's just more of just having somebody's got to draw it out and
Yeah.
going through all that. It's as an expense, but
Would that help you, Mr. Aspinall, if we had him as a third party to see what this plan is and make sure it's a licensed professional that's drawn it up?
Joanne, the other thing is it would be in the file to refer to
Yes.
in the future.
Yep,
well, I'd want it anyway, even if it wasn't one prior to, but if we had one at the end because of the condition that was put on it.
this will all be written up, Mr. Davis, just so you understand, but again, it would be for Scott to see the plan from the licensed professional.
Yeah, so I do like safety for a living, fire alarms, things like that, so I live in the world of codes and permits and everything else, and I have no problem with any of that.
Great, okay. Thank you all for your help. That's really good. Setback reduction appeals may only be granted the minimum extent necessary to accomplish the purpose of the appeal. Setbacks may not be reduced by setback reduction appeal to less than the following absolute minimums. And what we're talking about is the side setback of 10 feet. So there has to be, at a minimum, the 10 feet between the two. Do we need to, he had said 12 could be cutting it close. Do we have, we should specify?
Yes, you do need to specify what amount.
Yeah.
You should.
Do we want to say the 12 and,
I mean, on here, you got 11.6, I think it says.
yeah,
I believe Mr. Flynn said that he would come out and check it too,
Yep.
didn't he?
Yeah, Chris said Chris Flynn, the surveyor who did all those drawings.
Yeah, so we could get, you could get very, you could do, I mean,
Yeah.
and you could do the minimum that you guys feel comfortable
so
with.
the absolute minimum that we can set it to is,
Well, you can go all the way down to 10 feet, but he's only asking for
right,
a setback of 11, was it 11.8 was in there?
11.6 is what's
Yeah.
in there, basically.
But you
That
could do,
measurement didn't-
but you can do like 11.8 or 11.10 or something like that to keep it rounded and however you want to. I mean, as far as being the minimum.
Could you do to 11.5 feet?
that's going to say 11 and a half to make sure that there's no
Yep.
issues.
That still gives me about 6 inches.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's my fault, I'm talking to
Sorry,
you, Mary.
could you
Yeah.
please do 11.5 feet then? That way, that gives me approximately 6 inches of wiggle, just, I'm not trying to push the limits, I just don't wanna get to a point where we're arguing over.
Right, and I didn't want to go to
Facial
10 if we
or
don't
something.
need to, that's what I'm saying, to the minimum extent.
Yep.
And I always know sometimes there's things are a little bit off there, so are you guys comfortable with 11 and a half?
I am.
Down to 11 and a half,
So 11 feet,
11
6 inches.
okay.
Thank you.
So setback reduction to 11.6, okay. Is everyone good with that, 11.6?
Yes.
Okay. 0. With that, we had 4-0 on all and 3-1 on one. With that, the board will vote to grant your setback reduction. And we need to have a vote on that. So all those in favor of granting based on what we went through? All those opposed, so that would be 4. 0. Because how it would work is we would have to find against these, whereas we didn't have any majority on those. We have to have all in favor on all of those, and that's how it came out with the vote, Mr. Aspinall. So with that, you did meet the requirements, and we have the conditions that we'd read. Any last comments?
No.
Questions? Okay.
So you probably should have, did anybody ask that we bring it to a vote and then you vote?
Motion.
A motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that would be appropriate. That's why we've gone all over the place.
I'll
Like
make a motion that we bring it to a vote.
Okay, second?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor of granting the setback reduction to Mr. Davis? All those opposed? Thank you very much, Scott, for keeping us in line. Okay. That ends the application. Thank you very much for all your comments. We really appreciate it. It's very helpful. Okay, for the board.
Can I ask
And-
one question? How
Yes,
does the
sir.
process go from here? Will you be writing something out and contacting me, or?
Yes, they'll have a decision, then it has to be registered to the Registry of Deeds in Portland.
Okay, so
And
can I
s-
just come see you, say, next Tuesday?
How long does that, for that to be written up, I don't know.
I'm not, Joanne usually does the planning.
As far as the findings of fact, I'll
facts.
get them done right away,
Yeah, I
so
don't
that you
do
could
that.
have
I'm not-
something for next week.
Remember, I won't be in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll work on them this week, and like before, once they're done, you guys can read them and go in and sign them off, so that we could have something.
I mean, I could give you a call as soon as I get them.
I was gonna say, if I just keep
Yeah.
communication with you over,
Yeah.
and then,
Okay.
right, perfect, thank you.
Yep, no problem, thanks. So with that, any of you that would like to leave or would like to stay, it is totally your choosing. Next on the agenda, to approve the findings of fact from the Roma Dobson decision that we had.
Is everybody a copy?
Yep.
Good with that?
I don't think I do.
You don't have a copy?
Maybe they don't.
You guys all got a copy of the, did you get a copy to read of the draft?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I thought you emailed it out.
I did.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'd like one, thank you. I didn't bring it.
And we can go through it.
I wasn't here for that.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right.
Yep,
Rick
I
wasn't
did.
here, yeah.
Make me greedy.
Eh,
Anybody else need a copy?
No, I do have one. Okay,
And
that's good.
I know Louise had a couple, a few things. They were very good. And Len, I can give you time to look it over. As we go through these, you can look it over too to see if you have any concerns, questions, comments. We can read it, whatever makes you more
I'll be
comfortable.
okay.
Louise, do you want to read yours, or you want me to just go through them?
No, just go through.
Okay.
I mean, they're nitpicky, but
No, they're very good. On the page where I had the background, first paragraph, down near the bottom of it, where it says an abundance of off-road parking is available. I think it was very astute for Louise to pick that up. I think my intention was to put what the background that the applicant presented, and the way that's worded is inappropriate, because we did not determine that there was an abundance of off-road parking for that. So I'm thinking that we scratch that whole last sentence. So that paragraph, I'll read it. On Monday, June 24th, 2019, the Raymond ZBA held a public hearing on a conditional use permit in the rural residential zone. Mr. Roma and Ms. Dobson own, did I get that backwards? Is that right? Own the Roma Farm, which includes a farmhouse and barn built in the 1800s. They purchased the property in 2002 and have been renovating while keeping all of the original structure of the barn in the process. They would like to hold a few seasonal events from July to the first week of October: bridal showers, weddings, wedding renewals, birthday parties, each year at the property as additional income. The capacity would range from 30 to 140. The barn can hold 30 to 65. large outside tent for larger groups. And then I think my last sentence was an abundance of off-road parking is available on the 45 acres combined between the abutting two properties the applicants have purchased. I'm not sure that's even necessary because it has an opinion piece in it of what they stated, so I think we could remove that whole sentence.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, I'll strike that. Then it's just the facts of what their application was about. Then we have about the site walk. I think there was anything with that one. Fourth paragraph, let me get to,
Nothing.
under board comments discussion. Fourth paragraph, so that would be under, next to last page, where it says board comments discussion. Here, go to, you got it?
okay.
Pollution, where it says Louise expressed concern about various types of pollution. I think, Louise, you wanted to change that to mean audio pollution and possible light pollution.
Yep.
Yep. So I have no objections. Anyone, you have any objections to adding that in, Lynn?
No.
Okay. Add audio and light pollution. Light pollution. Okay, seventh paragraph. Which is right, the last paragraph. Where it says the events, midway down, the events the applicants would hold would be private, and I had invite only. Just to clean it up, I think, Louise, you'd suggested we change that to invitation only.
Right.
Yep. And the last sentence, Louise agreed and added it also mean, yeah, that was a typo, municipally owned, that we should put, it also, it
Just-
might also mean municipally owned, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll throw might in there. And Mary, I can make those corrections and send it in.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I can, because I've got them right here. So what I'll do, you guys, I'll make those exact corrections that we spoke about. I'll send it in to Mary and I'll let you know when it's there so you can go in and sign it.
Okay,
And I'll try to get the other one done real fast and maybe we can do both at the same, so you can go in and do both at the same time. And it'll be you reviewing. The only problem, you'll have to review the other one and send me recommended edits. We'll see what we have to do from there. That sounds good? Okay, great. Thank you very much. It's good. For bylaws workshop, I think all we really wanted to do was, because we haven't had an opportunity as a fairly newer group together, I don't think I ever have since I've been on this board, is just read through the bylaws, just so we know what they are, and maybe point out some future if we feel we need to make any changes to them. Does that, thank you. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yep. Yep, it's
Do
good.
that? Rick? Would anyone else like to read these?
I can
Yeah.
read it if you want.
go ahead.
Go for it, Louise, that'd be great.
Article 1, Purpose and General Provisions. Section 1, the purpose of these bylaws is to provide written rules of procedure for the Town of Raymond Zoning Board of Appeals, ZBA. Section 2, the ZBA derives its authority from 30 MRSA, Section 4963-2, Article 6 of the Raymond Land Use Ordinance, and Section 16, Administration G, Appeals of the Raymond Shoreland Zoning Provisions. Article 2, Membership. Section 1, appointment to and composition of the ZBA is governed by Article 6, Section A of the Town of Raymond Land Use Ordinance. Section 2, in order to maintain the status of a member in good standing, all members are required to attend both regularly scheduled and special meetings. Absence for more than 2 consecutive meetings without notification to the ZBA chairperson will be cause for disciplinary action as outlined in Section 4 of this article. Section 3, it is strongly encouraged that all members attend as many meetings, workshops, and trainings as possible in order to gain experience and insights into the operational procedural workings of the ZBA. This is especially important for new members. Section 4, the ZBA chairperson shall recommend to the Town of Raymond Board of Selectmen the dismissal of any member of the ZBA unable to maintain the status of a member in good standing. A ZBA member may be dismissed for cause by the municipal officers before the expiration of the member's term. Article 3, election and responsibilities of the ZBA chairperson. Section 1, the ZBA shall annually elect for their membership a chairperson to preside at all meetings. This election will take place at the first regularly scheduled meeting of the year. Section 2, the responsibilities of the ZBA chairperson include spokesperson for the ZBA, development of meeting agenda, conduct of efficient, orderly, impartial, and respectful meetings, assignment of a pro tem chairperson at any time, utilization of the alternate member to establish a quorum. Article 4, conduct of meetings, workshops, and executive sessions. Section 1, all meetings of the ZBA will be announced through public notice per Maine statute. Section 2, all meetings will be conducted according to Robert's Rules of Order newly revised in all cases to which they are applicable and which they are not in conflict by these bylaws. The chairperson may waive any rule of order upon showing good cause. Section 3, a quorum shall consist of 3 ZBA members. All actions shall be determined by a vote. A majority of the quorum present is needed to pass any motion. When a vote on a motion ends in a tie vote, the motion fails. The determination of a quorum for any vote shall not include any member who cannot participate in that vote due to a conflict of interest. Section 4, all comments, questions from applicants, applicant representatives, or the public shall be made through the chairperson. The chairperson shall rule any applicant representative, member of the public, or ZBA member out of order for making inappropriate statements or comments. The chairperson reserves the right to limit the time allotted for testimony or public comment. Section 5, all meetings, special meetings, and workshops of the ZBA are open to the public and governed by the Freedom of Information Act, with the exception of executive sessions. At regular and special ZBA meetings, the public is allowed to comment on specific agenda items. During workshops, the public may be allowed to comment provided there is a majority vote in the affirmative by the ZBA members present. Article 5, amendments to bylaws. The ZBA shall have the authority to amend these bylaws by vote at a regular or special meeting, provided that all members receive written notice of potential bylaw amendments at least 7 days prior to the date of the meeting. This was effective April 28, 2014.
Any concerns with the bylaws?
I don't have a concern, and I just don't understand what, according to Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, means. Or
I'm
what
with
is
you.
it?
That's the title of a book.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, because I know, I feel badly, because I am not by any means highly knowledgeable of Robert's rules. I've tried to go in, I have studied some of them to try to at least be able to.
I've got a little history on that.
Yeah.
While I was town clerk, they were using the book, the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And they discovered that they had this revised book,
Mhm.
which is a shortened version. So it makes it a lot easier to find questions and get your answers.
Okay.
But they have copies of it down at the town office.
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, is this book, what does it say? Does it say rules should be this?
It's not as specific as that, unfortunately. Basically, it's like you have to have a motion, you have to have a second, and you have to have the vote.
It's
in order to
basically
pass
just telling
something.
you how to run a meeting.
Right, how to
Yeah,
run,
yeah,
how to
essentially,
properly run.
Essentially, yeah.
I know I've
And-
got some here I could share with you sometime about, on how to chair a meeting and the basic Roberts rules. You can go online and find some of that stuff.
And the
too,
reason
and-
it's mentioned with a title is because there are other ways and books on holding meetings.
Yeah,
Robert's Rules is probably the best known and most widely used.
Mm.
But it's a gargantuan document.
Thank you.
yeah. Right. So I share with you, Len, the same thing. I just feel badly, like I said, that I know, trying to run these meetings, that I don't, and I am, by all means, any of you who know them well, and you find that we're out of procedure, call,
I think like he did tonight. we need a
exactly,
motion.
that's
Yeah.
perfect,
Yeah.
that's perfect, and
Yeah.
we did
We
go a
try and
little-
keep it straight.
Yeah, exactly, so, I mean, I at least feel good that I think we're following the major things that we need to.
The only thing that I saw in here that under Article 3, Section 1,
Mhm.
this election will take place at the first regularly scheduled meeting of the year. Do we need something more definitive than that? Because when is the first regular schedule?
I think we said it's the
Fiscal
first
year.
meeting in July.
It's,
July being the
It's
start of
u-
the new fiscal year, the new town year. the way
which is
we're
July,
looking at
July
it.
1st, but first regularly scheduled meeting of the year would probably start July 1st,
That's
and
what-
maybe that should be in there.
Or we had like a definition of what is the start of the year. I
Start of
mean,
the year.
like it normally would be they'd say calendar year would mean January, so.
Right. And this just says of the year, it doesn't say fiscal year or anything.
Hmm.
Can we make that change?
Is that an ordinance or is that
No.
laws?
No, it's just our bylaws.
Oh, bylaws.
And it's our bylaws. I mean, it would just be very clear then.
No, I agree, because we were
It's
confused,
just
we all
the
were
words.
confused as
Yeah.
to when it was
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah.
be, so,
Because appointments generally are done the first selectmen's meeting after town meeting, which is, the first Tuesday of June.
so speaking from your perspectives of working with the town at time, should it say of the fiscal year?
Yeah, the fiscal year, I'd use fiscal year.
Does that make sense for you, Mary?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I guess if the fiscal year became the calendar year, like it is in some towns, that might muddy the waters. But
So.
they could move town meeting too, so
Yeah,
if they moved it back to March, then we'd have to,
We would-
I'd keep it fiscal
I'd say
year.
fiscal, because I think that would flow for
Yeah.
either one. So Mary, do you have this? I mean,
Yes.
I don't mind making the change.
No, that'll take me a minute.
So next time we have a meeting, we can just sign off on that,
Mm-hmm.
like they did? Okay, great. Good. Thank you. Let's see. 5, Sue had brought to Mary's and my attention, I think both of us and Scott probably, about the possibility of changing the day that we meet from Monday to Tuesday, the last Tuesday of the month, for various reasons. I was not opposed to it, and my plan was to bring it to the group tonight to see if there was any opposition. Mary found out in the meantime, in the latest version of the ordinances, that it says in there, in Article 6, Board of Appeals, item C1, page 25 out of 136, that it's, that we have to meet on the last Monday of the month. So it's actually in there.
Thank you.
So, I guess what's the procedure?
Well, that would have to go through town meeting. because
Right.
It's the ordinance.
Yeah.
Right,
So you really, there couldn't be any, we can make note of the change, and then when we discuss the changes for the ordinance, that would be one that we would ask.
So do I bring this back to Sue's attention and say, this is the situation?
I
Um,
copied her on, she was on that email.
Right, do we have to make a formal request for them?
No, shouldn't be, not for that.
I think verbal would be enough.
Yeah, okay. So you think we're covered, if
Mhm.
we've told her? But what I can tell her, though, does anyone have any opposition to that, if we could change it?
I do not.
I don't.
Well, I mean, you never know what the next board is gonna be.
I know.
It could be something different, so.
At this moment in time, so we would probably likely, if it were going to
Mhm.
come up for a change at that point in time, depending on who's on the board, we should vote at that.
Well, the only other thing I can think of is not to have it in there at all.
Well, the previous one was generic, and it just said once a month that we had to meet.
Yeah.
So I was very surprised, that was a good catch on Mary's part, that they changed it to be that specific.
Mm.
Not sure
I
why.
mean, why couldn't we change it back to being non-specific?
You could, I mean, we'd have to see why originally it was changed to Monday to begin
Part
with.
of what was changed here was that it said, it simply said shall meet monthly, essentially is what it said.
Okay.
As opposed to as needed. So it
Well,
was-
that's pretty
it was
much what we
committing-
do.
It was committing you to being every single month.
Well, in the
Yeah.
past,
Yeah.
we would go months and months and months without meeting, so I can
Yeah,
see why that,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Was it
does,
worded for the planning board?
Yeah,
Is
that's
it
what-
as needed? I can't remember.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
As needed.
that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why this one change is as needed was put in. I didn't realize that was changing it from last Monday.
Well, we've
I
got
thought that was
plenty of
in there already, but
we got plenty of time before this can be changed. I think what the first thing, as we've done, is pointed out to Sue that we can't because it's in the ordinance, and when the time comes, we can bring it up at the meeting before there's gonna be a change. So,
Which really should be probably January.
yeah, probably that's when, yeah, exactly.
'Cause
Okay,
that's when town meeting warrant articles
Yeah,
start
that's
rolling.
when we'll put it all together.
Yeah.
Sometime for that.
Just make a note, January, consider. 6, code enforcement officer communications.
We got nothing.
So far, we have
Right.
nothing, we haven't had any even inquiries yet, so far.
So that means we have nothing for next month.
Yep.
Because,
Yeah,
It's
once-
already, but
Yeah,
beyond.
we're at a deadline, so
Yay,
got a
Thank
mini
you.
vacation
thank you.
at the end of summer.
Yay, thank you very much. And then we need a motion for adjournment.
Make a
I so
motion that we
move.
adjourn.
I second.
Seconded. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, welcome to the September 10th meeting of the RSU with 14 Withdrawal Committee. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the June 24th meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Next item would be reports of the subcommittees. Marshall, do you want to bring us up to speed on where you are on the budget side?
Sure. I want to make it absolutely clear that what I have to say tonight is dealing with a foundation. It has got nothing to do with where we're going to go with schools. But we have to have some place to start, and this is where we are, okay? So there are several areas that we're looking at.
Marshall, before you get started, do you have the copy that Mark Eastman had? He said he had actually a draft of one that Chris Howe did up, I think, or Dawn Davis, one of those did up.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
never mind on that, right?
I need to do this my way for the
No,
first part.
I'm good with that. No.
I'm not gonna try to get into Chris's head and to see where he came up with those numbers, because I was not in the same.
I guess I was just looking to where it compares that, is what it is.
I'm
Nope.
not even gonna, I didn't
Okay.
even do that, yep. Okay, so now,
Boom.
we have, and if this isn't big enough, let me know, I can make it a little bit bigger, I don't wanna lose the integrity.
There you
That's good.
go. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry,
You just lost the integrity.
yeah. What we have is the original 2008, 2009 RSD, Raymond School District budget, which I have converted into the appropriate RSU accounting numbers. Okay, so that I can match an apple to an apple. And the one I have up here now, there are 9 different categories, but the one up here now is just the Raymond Elementary School Cost Center 01. It gives you the name of the category, the function number, and what the original budget was in this category, what the original budget was in 2008, 2009. That is where my foundation starts.
What's the talking noise?
I don't know who he's talking to.
It's the feedback from in there.
Oh, he's got
Oh,
He's on the phone.
speakers
all
on.
right.
So I'm pretty comfortable starting here. And then in this particular column, I was able to clearly identify numbers from the RSU 14 version 6, 2019-2020 budget that directly reflected to cost centers in Raymond. And the first one is the guidance. In '08 it was 68,000, in '09 it was 42,000. The difference being they have taken some of the benefits and they have pooled them into a 900 category. So I cannot come in and say guidance costs us the same as it did last time. The job that we have in front of us is to go back and redetermine what those numbers would be if, in fact, we had a guidance counselor in RES.
So it wasn't the fact that they might have had 1.5 guidance counselors?
I don't know what they did in in 19. I know what we did in 08.
Okay.
Okay? And again, Joe, this is just the foundation. That's one of several hundred questions that we have, is where do we, how do we develop a guidance number for 20 and 21? Okay? So, is that making sense to everybody here so far? We get into this RES noon monitor. This is one example where there was no noon monitor delineated in 08, but there was in 19. Okay, I don't know what that was. It must have been an overpaid benefit because they didn't carry one forward in 20.
It got
Yeah,
sent to a
there's a bunch
different-
of that
yeah.
going on, but reassigned, renamed, recategorized, whatever. There's a bunch of that going on, but we can find that out. But anybody, if we're all okay with the process, is what I'm looking for, then we will go forward here. This is just a synopsis for RES, and the next document is the actual numbers, and this is going to be a little bit harder to bring up. And again, I don't want to lose integrity here. Okay. In the 19-20 budget, the guidance was 68,000, 51,000 in salaries, 15 in benefits, so forth and so on. We can break that out, okay? The benefits in general, right, and I have to use general terms, is running 35 to 40% of the actual salary numbers. So that's an easy number to project out. You take the salary, add 40%, add a cost of living, whatever the union contract says it is, and that's your new number. Okay. So
And are you again comparing 2008 to 2019 right here?
this particular document is 2008 expanded. I just showed you a synopsis the first time. This is still Raymond Elementary, but this is every individual cost center in Raymond Elementary.
Right, so what are the two columns? Oh, sorry,
This is 08 and 20.
okay.
Okay?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. This orange category is numbers that appeared in 08 but do not appear in 20. This is the benefits. In 08 they were lumped. In 19 and 20 they were broken out. PERS, unemployment, health, dental, et cetera, et cetera. There's about 9 different categories they use for benefits. These categories here, the gray ones, were not in 08, but they do appear in 19 and 20, do appear in that budget. So those need to be looked at too. Why was there an increase in group health insurance? Well, the answer is they broke it down, so we can again combine and come up with a number. Okay. The RES nurse's salary was $32,000 in 08. It's not in the 19-20 budget. The reason is they have a lump category called 900, and this is going to be a little bit harder to read. Okay, 900 is those categories that are divided throughout the 7 or 8 schools. I forget how many there are. If you throw Katahdin in, I think there's 8, and they take those costs and they put them into the 900 category. And then we pay 35% or whatever that number is, okay? So we can go in and because we have these numbers here, in this column, we can go back in and we can pull out the numbers here, because the cost centers and the allocations inside the cost centers would be the same. Okay, so we can pull those numbers out. That's a very lengthy process. There's 450 items in this one category. So that's where we are on that. This is another little interesting graph that I did just cause. And this shows where we have been and where we could have gone. FYE 0809. The school budget that was approved by the town was $8.4 million. Okay. And then when the honeymoon started, the costs went down through economies of scale. And then they came up, and then in 13, the honeymoon was basically over. And that's when the economies of scale lost their impact. And there's a couple reasons for that. So when we get into 15 and 16, you can see over here in this column, we have the, where the cost sharing impacts were, okay? And they went from 45.55 down to 36.64, which is where they are now. And then if we'd have stayed in the union, if we'd have stayed our own, we'd have probably be around $11.3 million. Using a sports analogy, that would be my first baseline.
How did you get to 11.3 million when student population was
gone
probably
down.
decreasing?
By taking an average of 3% per year,
year.
which was the
Okay.
3% per year, okay? And taking that out to 11.
And that's just assuming everything stays static?
That's assuming that, yeah, population stayed the same, the state funding stayed the same, teacher out, a bus in stayed the same, that methodology all stayed the same. That's just an eyeball, or a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
So, the actual numbers are in this column. It was projected to be 9.5 million in 2019, but because of the differences in the allocations of real estate values, estate valuations, we took a major hit this year. So it went up to 10.4 million. Okay, so using that as a foundation, in 2 years, we would be at 11.4 million, which is pretty close to the 11.3, give or take 3%. Okay, so that's where we are on a first baseline basis. The last 6-year average on the school budget increase has been 4.69%, which is pretty. And this year you can see it was 9.2% because of the valuation. One good reason to withdraw is to get out of that formula. It's hurting us more than it's helping us.
The formula is going to change though too, 2020.
I don't think it's going to be to our advantage when you're dealing with state valuations.
No, because what happens is you can look at it so many different ways, and it was brought up by Chris Howe at one of the meetings, is the contract on this has to be looked at. You looked at it so many years is what it is. In 2020, we'd be renewing it. You can look at student population, you can look at valuations, you can do a mix. It's a mix right now. And so, yeah,
We need to get out of that.
yeah, it's going to hurt us.
Okay. So that's that.
So can I just ask?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry,
Feel
'cause-
free. I have a thick skin. Feel free.
No, no. I'm gonna need thick skin because you're gonna be like, can't you figure all this number stuff out? Can I just ask
That's not
why
He's doing it.
you didn't carry column E on line 29, 31, and 33?
I can if you give me a couple.
Because it would
29.
just be, I just think we're not necessarily comparing apples to
Not trying to.
apples there.
Not trying
Okay.
to. My conversation is not what it was. It's where it is now. It's in this column.
Because, but I'm saying, so if we're looking at, column F is assuming we don't withdraw.
No,
correct?
column F is exactly where we are financially now.
All right, so what are those projections on 29, 31, and 33? See, you're gonna get really annoyed with me. I need the thick
No.
skin.
No, I'm with you.
Okay.
That's why I'm sitting thinking, I'm glad he's doing the budget. And then I catch on later.
I don't do budgets.
What those are is,
if you take
he's taken the average increase year to year.
21.
And he's applied
This
those
is the actual
through
number.
20, 21, and 22.
Yep.
6-year average per year.
Right. But that's the actual number that we are at today.
Now, today.
Right.
And so now your line on 31 and 33 you're projecting out 1 year and then 2 years on that, assuming we stay where we are, because you're basing it off of that $10 million. Wouldn't you love it to be 10,000? $10 million number.
We'd have 3 kids in the school
Yeah.
for 10,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So how come you didn't do line 31 and line 33? Because so E24.
Yeah, but see, that doesn't,
Is that's your first baseline of if we were to
No.
be, then what is E?
No.
What is E? I'm confused.
E
now.
was just a historical average of where we could have been, and the purpose of that was to show the impact on the marriage. Right here, and where we went down on the marriage. When the honeymoon was over, the marriage being the Wyndham Raymond our issue. When the honeymoon was over, then we started to get into some, what I would consider normal increases. This column really, I should do this.
Well, because that column when you're comparing both of those, doesn't it show
No,
that
we're not comparing it, we're not comparing that to that.
But if you're saying that column E is where you would have projected staying as a Raymond school district, right? So isn't this a good marriage then? Aren't we saving $2 million? I'm just not quite understanding this.
No,
Okay,
because
I
you
see
gotta-
where you're going.
But you've got to consider, you've got a decreasing
Right,
population.
right.
So
But
you
higher
would,
special ed costs.
you know,
But you're also assuming only a 3% increase every
Right.
year, when the school district
Right.
has been going up 4.6.
Right.
because what has to be established is, okay, if we, the fact is, ultimately, you can extrapolate some of that stuff back out there, but the exercise is to get to say, okay, if we were to have this done today, we know what the budget that we're doing from the RSU. When we blow all this stuff through, we're gonna come up with a number. That's the number you wanna compare against column F.
And the number that I'm trying to get across to you would be somewhere between 11.3 and 11.5 going into it.
Because that's where you're
Starting
gonna be this year, or
So
next
you're-
year.
That's where we're gonna be.
So let's say withdrawal would happen in 2021,
2021.
right? And you're thinking we'd be, okay, thank you.
Actually, it would be
2020.
21, 22,
It would be the
Because-
21,
that last
22
line.
school year.
That last line.
because we would have to vote in a November election.
Okay.
and it
This,
would be
the budget that we're
everybody votes
preparing would
budget.
take effect in June of '21.
Yep, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, I don't want this to be, was drawn for an example, it's not a hard number, please understand.
Oh,
that,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
I can't go out 2 years.
I'm just
right
trying to get my brain to process
Okay,
it.
but
which-
I have to have a place,
don't know
I have to have a
which time
target number.
Yeah.
You have- you
So
have-
that's one
Yeah.
target number.
Yeah, understand. I get it now.
You brought up, and it's all your fault, special ed.
Yeah. You cannot target this one. This is nuts.
This is a very interesting category. This is what we've taken out of the 900 basket and pulled into direct special ed costs. And there are 3 categories in there. One is the CIDA director, which is curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And in that category, the gifted and talented rests, and I'm not sure why. That, to me, should be a special ed category, because special ed, to me, covers both sides of the spectrum, not just the low side.
Other than the fact that gifted and talented doesn't fall under mandates, doesn't fall under the mandated programs.
Well,
And historically, G&T gets cut in
yeah,
favor of
that's the problem.
Special.
special ed.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I happen to have a fondness for gifted and talented. I think there's a lot of stuff that could happen in there, but anyway, it's only $300,000, big deal. The Katahdin head of school, that's another example where we may or may not have an impact. Okay, I'm not sure how many of our kids actually go to the Katahdin school, and if the same tuition rate would apply.
Is that the old real school?
Yes.
I was gonna say, because it used to be
Yeah, the alternative ed school.
they just brought it back to Wyndham, I believe, because it was at Camp Hines.
Yeah, it was at Hines.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is physically.
It's at the high school now. There was
They
no,
did bring it
there
back.
was, they couldn't use a kitchen, or there was no
Oh.
kitchen or something at Camp Hines.
Still being built.
Yeah.
Special ed, as a former special educator, I can say that I can see some possible savings in this area. What I see is they had, I'm gonna go right down to it. Evidently, the school board made a decision to not subcontract out contracted services, and they hired everybody. It appears that their budget reflects, and it's right here, their speech, psychological, occupational, physical therapy, and professional salaries all bulked into, and they're all being paid as normal educators, benefits, the whole 9 yards, stipends, the whole 9 yards. And that was up 18% over the year past. The $2 million in that one category, 700,000 of it would be ours. I'm not sure we would need to hire those people. I know we need those services, but in years past, we've had contracted services.
Oh.
Okay, so I think there could be some savings in there. The other one, and I'm not sure about this one, English language learner, I'm not sure what an impact that would have here in Raymond. I know that in Westbrook, they're really starting to struggle because there's been some big housing develops in Westbrook, and I think they're assuming that that's going to flow into Wyndham, if not now, very soon. I'm not sure Raymond would have an impact, but that's another special ed category that we could take a look at. And there are others. Most of this is in salaries, obviously. There's resource room placements, there's self-contained. I'm not sure how many self-contained rooms we used to have, probably one in each building.
Yeah, I think Arias had one.
There's one there now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that would cost us $1 million to run one, or $300,000 to run one
How many,
self-contained room. I don't know. I
how
know
many
what you're gonna ask.
out-of-district placements are there?
As far as I know, there's 3, and they call them private placements. And I'm guessing because a private placement is about $75,000 apiece. So there appears to be 3 out-of-district placements. I know we had one at Massachusetts at one point in time, didn't we? Long
Yeah.
time ago.
Actually, I thought we had one in Florida at one time.
Yeah, so they can get expensive. I know in Lisbon, we had one in Rhode Island. It was very expensive. So anyway, I think there can be some savings in there. So what I'm suggesting is that special ed could be looked at for some savings. And I think where we are now is, I will have, going back to the synopsis, we have categories that we need to develop and come out of the system-wide. Can everybody see that okay? Sorry. These are the system-wide costs, which we can bring back into the individual Jordan Small and Raymond Elementary improvement in instruction. That's now called CIA. And it used to be 61. I don't know what it's going to be now. Technology, Kevin Woodbury and somebody from my team will sit down with him and try to develop a budget based on the 08-09 budget and see where we are. There are 2 components to that budget, which I'll get into in a second. There's whatever the school board is going to cost us, the superintendent, transportation budget, out of district transportation was something else, and school nurse and a contingency. So those categories we're going to take a look at. And these numbers over here, school nurse. One of the things on my wish list would be to have considered a school nurse in each building. And I think that, when you're dealing with high school kids, a school nurse, 1 for every 400 is great. But not when you're dealing with young kids. And I have to ask, do we have pre-K yet?
No.
Okay, then we will in probably a year.
It's expensive.
Well, not yet.
Yeah, but they're
But
making it,
even for that, you're gonna
implementing
need, you're gonna need a nurse. So if we had a nurse in each building, it would be 80,000. Okay,
I know
that's,
they did a nurse and a half before, and I know that we had big meetings when I was on the school board regarding kids that were diabetic, and the medicines on time because they're little and stuff like that, so yeah.
okay, did I bore you with numbers? Okay. I want to go back to a couple other things I can talk about. If I can find them. Sorry. This is what I need for information.
Not that.
Do it your way. I need to know how many buses are gonna come forward, because that goes into the maintenance of the buses and it goes into staffing. So at some point in time, and I'll put a date on this later.
Well, it's part of the proposal.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's okay, I understand all that. I'd like to get a student count by grade, I think I can get that
Yep.
relatively quick. I'd like to get a special ed count. I'd like to get their estimate on pre-K, which K was 50 this year, was it 49 or 50?
3 classrooms in Raymond,
Yeah.
which is
yeah.
great.
But the numbers around 50, so I would assume pre-K would be in that range. It appears that we have.
Probably not, because you have to understand with pre-K, it's typically a half day, so most families
My wife's a
can't
pre-K
take care of
teacher, and
that.
they do two, one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
I
20
understand
kids,
that,
yeah.
but to enroll, like, you'd only have half day of coverage, you'd have to find. It's a this is some of the work I do statewide, and they're
Yep.
having a really hard time filling pre-K classrooms.
Really?
Public pre-K classrooms,
Wow.
because of childcare
My
issues.
wife's school,
Yeah,
it's a lottery system, there were
yeah.
3 times what the slots were. Anyway, I'd like to get a handle on the pre-K registration. I'd like to know what was in the 19 and what was in the 20 capital budget that wasn't done. Technology budget, system, there's 2 parts to this, as I said earlier, there's a system-wide equipment, what's it gonna take to get into the school, what's it gonna take to provide computer access to the school, and then what actually happens in the classroom. Are we gonna lose what we have as far as equipment, so forth and so on. And then the technology upgrades, there would be town technology upgrades too, that we would need to consider. The maintenance budgets, they speak for themselves. Did everybody go over and see the new playground at RES? I went over it on a Sunday just so I wouldn't see anybody else, and it looks nice. And I said to myself, well, there goes one of the 5 evils for the withdrawal.
Mr. Seymour and his wife donated one of the apparatus, which
Yeah.
was so
The
nice.
Pegasus
Okay.
net,
The what?
there's
The
a
spider net?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool
great.
thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but good for them.
So transportation, we have, and then the co-curricular, I'm not sure how effective our co-curricular would be. We need coaching, we have PE teachers, I know, but I'm not sure whether we have outside coaching, how far do we go?
I think
And
most of the coaches are from right here, aren't they?
Teachers.
Yeah, they usually volunteer.
Teachers, they get a stipend for.
Right, they get
a stipend.
usually teachers do. And then whatever programming comes up with as far as their wish list, so to speak. So that's where I think.
Did you have food and stuff in there?
I have
already?
nutrition in
Okay.
another category,
Okay,
yeah,
perfect, thank you.
and that was on
No,
my
they don't
wish
get-
list.
no. Everyone brings their own lunch.
Yeah.
So
Good luck
as-
with that.
As soon as we send our proposal to the RSU, it's technically public information, correct?
In theory, yes, but the
Yeah.
fact is, it's until it comes back after, if there's a counter proposal to it or whatever, it's one of those that, something that's in there may not be in there in the final
Well,
thing, so-
no, I think what I'm trying to do is, if that part of it is at least, then Marshall can have access to it to get some of the information that we talk about in there without,
Let me tell you what my timeline is. I'm gonna have Kevin Oliver take a good chunk of this over the next 3 months, and I'm gonna take another good chunk of it over the next 3 months. And if I can be in a position to say to you in early January, this is where I think we're going to be, then I would be very happy with that.
I don't see.
But I don't need access to anything right now.
I don't see, because I don't see it, you know, my gut says, you know, the last iteration of this, I don't think there, you know, there may be some little minor tweaks and things like that,
Yeah.
but I mean, you know, we were at that 95% level, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I just, you know, and the feeling was not much was gonna happen over the summer, just because.
Yeah, we don't know.
Just because it's the
Just
summer.
give me some time to
You know,
build.
so, you know, that's the, you know, the counter proposal's been given to them, but just in these last few days, so they really haven't had a chance to really look at it. So they'll do whatever they, you know, whatever they're gonna do on there, and then we'll see where we are on that. But I think some of these questions that you've got there, Mark can certainly, if it's
We'll
not
develop
answered
over
in there,
time,
he can
yeah.
get those pretty easily from Chris, and that they've been, you know, there's been no problem in getting that information up to date, so.
These are some of the assumptions. I have to have a platform of assumptions for a budget, and we have a new pre-K going in 2021. I'm pretty sure that'll happen. No new technology hardware purchases for 2021. Katahdin School remains the same. High school students at state tuition rate. No new bus purchases for 2021. No increase or decrease in professional staff. Can substitute, replace, but not increase or decrease. I figured a part-time SE director at 030 certified, a part-time superintendent at 010 certified. The school choice remains in effect.
On bus purchases, there's been a little bit of a change in the way those have been done in the last number of years, in that based on the price, they're not doing straight purchases, they're doing leases on, they're doing like, what, 3-year leases?
Yeah, I think so.
So they're doing
Leases with a buyout at the end, aren't they?
probably,
I would think.
it's either that, or, well, I mean, I guess, you know, once that finally happens and we have it, then, you know, we're gonna drive whatever, we're gonna be, you know, we'll have the ability to do what we wanna do in a lease, whether we do a buyout or whether you turn it in and do
Right.
what, you know, whatever's gonna work there, but, you know, we'll be doing the contracting on the leasing for that, so.
Last thing I want to show you is this little, these are for those people that think we should not withdraw. There's a company out there, can you see that, Kate?
I am the youngest one at this table.
I know, and you've probably got the best eyes.
I just got new eye.
Did you?
I did last week.
Good for you.
So now I don't need
I don't see
glasses.
anything right now.
I
I just see a
know.
bunch of
Wow.
blanks.
I know, I just lost it.
Ooh, good comeback.
There it is.
I didn't lose it for good.
You never do. That's why that backups.
It's tough to look at this and look at that, make sure you can read it. Sorry.
Well, this one has a glare on it. That one doesn't.
Yes, really, yeah.
Ah, I'm not gonna be able to do it.
Go up to view and do page view.
You get the point, you can see it pretty much. There's a company out there called School Digger. And School Digger has a rating system for all the schools in the United States of America. It's incredible. There are several others. The other one, the reason I chose School Digger is because they're not trying to sell you a bunch of real estate like the other ones are. Okay, so if you, I think the other one was, there's a bunch of names out there. But when you look at the ratings of these schools, Wyndham Primary is rated 67th, or they didn't rate Wyndham Primary for some reason, but
Can you see
you get down into the,
Oh,
yeah, that was my rating based on something else, but Wyndham Middle School is 42nd out of 86, or 50, in the 51 percentile. Wyndham High School is 58th out of 114, which is the 49th percentile. And then you look at the two jewels in the system, and they're ours. Okay? Raymond Elementary is 69 out of 254th, and Jordan Small is 22nd out of 86. So what I'm suggesting is that if you take those out, they could be better. RSU 14th is rated 55th out of 148. So I thought that was interesting. And the scoring it went down from last year with the exception of Raymond Elementary and Jordan Small. And again, my source on this is School Digger. Okay. Have a good time. As a personal note,
He's so sarcastic tonight.
I went to New Haven to go to work. And when my wife and I decided where are we going to live, we're not going to live in New Haven, we looked at not where we wanted to live for town, but we looked at the school system. And we bought in this town that had the best school system. It happened to be number 3 in the state of Connecticut at the time. And my kids got a good education from that. And then my grandkids, my son made the same decision. And now they go to the number 9th rated school in Connecticut, which is East Lyme. And it's a great school system. So if we're looking to bring in people, buy houses in Raymond, then we need to have a better school system than 55th ranked. So that's it, unless you want to see something else. I've taken up enough time, I think.
That's good.
No, that's good. So your next steps is when Mark gets back, to get back with him with your list of your question list so that he can.
A lot of that stuff I can get on my own. I'm going to sit down with Nathan and say, Nathan, where are we? Where can we go?
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing with Kevin, which takes a big chunk out of that.
I mean, we know we would save on facility maintenance, on
Yeah.
snow plowing.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Well,
I mean, we used to.
Just for something that nobody fully knows yet, the RSU was having a hard time getting snowplow contractors.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And so,
I know this.
one of the people they came to get a bid is us.
Again.
Which, if, I mean, based on where we are now with the new equipment we got for doing our own plowing and whatnot,
Right.
it's a perfect fit to come back in here. But I mean, it's things like that all comes into that one Raymond approach and things like that Teresa's gonna tell us about.
Well, Raymond is actually doing the plowing. Our guys are plowing the schools. Yep,
Yeah.
because their last year contract with whoever, they said no, they won't do it. So Raymond's going to be picking up the schools. Nathan told him yes. So regarding the One Raymond concept,
Well, can I
Oh,
just,
sorry.
one more, then I hope you can see this. I'm not sure I can make this any bigger, but this is the debt service schedule that Chris sent over. And I'm not sure I understand this thing. And I'm sorry, if I can make it bigger, I would. Might be able to here.
oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Okay?
What? I thought Raymond was paid off.
The
Or
elementary
yes.
school, next year.
Says down here that the Raymond RES school was refinanced. I'm not sure what that means.
The what?
RES was refinanced.
Refinanced
Yeah.
for a lower rate.
The state has refinanced the RES debt service, which reduced future payments. I thought that school was paid off.
I thought it was paid
Yeah.
off.
It should have been.
That
Yeah.
was, wait a minute.
No, we didn't have any debt on that.
No,
No.
That was
that
2000.
should have retired last year.
Wasn't
It
it?
says
This,
May 20, oh, no, sorry, I'm reading it wrong.
This is FY
No, I was
20.
looking at the May 19 too.
Yeah.
So,
And the high school was refunded, which I'm not sure what the difference is, refunded and refinanced. I'm not sure what they're using that word for. But assuming that debt service is one of the components I need to look at, and I'm not sure what I'm looking at.
Well, the
we had no
debt
debt
service
going in there for high
on
school.
RES
Should be zero.
should be zero
Right.
af-
It was a
after 2020.
20-year,
I think we had one,
1999.
I
Yep.
think we have one
No,
more payment to
2000
do
the kids
on
started, 'cause my kids started when they opened in
when we paid
2000.
for the,
Started payments.
The year before?
upgrade over here.
Right.
Before the, you know, before the RSU, we did an upgrade there, and we bonded that. That bond payment runs, or concludes this year.
Right.
So, so going into any new, you know, separation, we shouldn't have debt service on either of those buildings.
No, we should
What
only
we
have
would
that service
have,
on high
what
school.
we would have, that we still would have, that you have to carry in there, we still have some obligation on the
High school,
Right.
yeah.
Which
but
appears to
not-
be $1.2 million a year.
But not Raymond Elementary, we didn't have any.
No. Okay, so this needs to be looked at, and then there's a debt schedule and bond schedule and all that stuff. But anyway, I wanted to raise that issue with you folks to see, to plant a seed in there.
Thank
Done?
I can be.
you. Thank you.
There's a lot of work there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work there.
And unfortunately, there's a lot more to go.
Oh, I know there is. Yeah.
That was a lot.
And I'm literally thinking, thank God on that group.
Okay.
All right, the one
What-
Raymond. We had a good group meet.
Okay if I stay here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a public meeting.
Public hearing,
And you were at this meeting too.
because I want to ask you something afterwards, too.
I don't want to be 3 selectmen in the same room without.
No, it's a public meeting,
It's
so.
a public, it's a public
Okay.
meeting, and it's taped, so.
All right, so we had a good meeting, and one of the things that we can, like the plowing, the facilities maintenance, you know, we kind of looked at it as if we have one person that oversees all the buildings, and we can have like the sub people underneath of it, like, you know, how they had like Donna or whatever over in the school and that type of thing. Also with mechanic, we have a mechanic in now, and then we can bring another one in to be able to fix the buses and still do, you know, all the trucks in town and stuff like that. Technology is we can combine and figure out what comes with us, you know, if we do withdraw, and that we could have like Kevin or whatever talk to Mr. Hickey. Or was it Mr. Hickey that was there before? He's still there, right? Yeah. Okay. So that way we know town staff. Between the town and the school, we can have an accounting person that does payroll for both. We can do, it would probably be it would be a payroll person that does that, and then we'd have probably an accounting person and a half to be able to do both. The human resources, whether you're school or town, it's still where we would be able to cover both of those instead of having 2 in the town.
But you're assuming you will have the same benefit package for the school and the municipality.
Which we don't now.
That's the only way you can do one HR person.
That's what I'm getting to now. Exactly. So what we would have to definitely look at is, with the number, what can we offer our town and our staff that we would negotiate because of the contracts is what it is. And that would be we have, unemployment liability and the medical and dental would be in there too. Lease agreements on equipment. We could probably get deals as far as the schools go
I
and
mean,
town.
you would have to think about the retirement plan,
Mm-hmm.
because teachers have state retirement.
Well, we would, because of where they are on their contracts, like here's the contract, we would, they would be negotiating that already, do you know what I mean? And then we would do that, but possibly taking what we have for the school employees to do the town and see what we can do together.
Right.
You know what I mean, to save on that type of thing. You can buy bulk and like the with the electricity, the oil. One thing that we're waiting on and trying to play out to see too is solar panels for the fire, was it the fire station and I think the building right down here. But we said that if we got the schools back, that has that top flat building. That might be a really good possibility as far as looking into that. Same thing with purchasing for oil. That would be a really good one on that. So it's kind of like the central office that was there before would be the business manager and the special ed director. I look at the special ed director is to me is in a category all of themselves. They really are, because each kid
Each kid is different.
It is, and you don't know. And you've got to work, you can't pick up a paper and check the boxes. You gotta look
No.
what that child needs. And I think that's an issue that goes on now, is too many people look at that.
And that's why you need an 030 certified, because you're gonna know what to put in each box. And a lot of these 282s don't have
We
them.
had a dedicated,
But she was
specialized
not
director
certified.
we had.
She was not certified.
Yeah, no.
she was working on, and it was a straight yes. It was a
We
situation,
need it
shouldn't have been the
certified.
way it was, but.
But, I don't know, I think literally just what we can do is just, I think breaking it down when we start getting it back, and seeing, I think, how the buildings are used. Do you know what I mean? That maybe what we can do is utilize maybe some of the building that we had talked about before a while ago several times, is like, if you've got a whole wing in the school that somebody's not, that you're not using but you're paying for, you know, what can we do to add to that for the community? You know what I mean?
Well, and the gym, especially the gym.
Yeah. So,
Right now, I guess we paid somebody pays to use the gym, which is ridiculous, but.
Yeah, because it lost,
Right.
well, it
Well-
lost what was supposed to happen, because the gym,
Right.
the town bought the gym.
Right.
Right, it was totally separate from the school, the town had
Right.
control,
Right,
well,
and then
No,
the
we don't.
RSU took it over.
right.
because one of the things that we're investigating now is, you know, like the communications person that I brought up at the select board meetings, and because of getting word out to people too. But, you know, when you've got a school that will not allow Girl Scouts to come in to just advertise, and Alyssa Messer and somebody else, and I can't remember who the other person was, they had to fight, and they got it. They could have it on opening night, that's the only thing. They could just hand out pamphlets and stuff, and to me, keeping kids busy is important instead of just having them sit around watching the TV. But when you don't allow this stuff to come into the schools, and I think that's gonna be, you know, as a town, you know, working together with that One Raymond thing, is you gotta pull in all the different extracurricular stuff too, is what
The
it is.
recreational part of it.
The
Yep.
Girl Scouts are not allowed in the schools anymore?
No, they're allowed to school, they're not allowed to hand out pamphlets.
Yes.
You can't post,
But you have to pay- you have-
can't post, things on there for anything other than school.
You can if the PTO approves it.
The PTO has cut back a lot of stuff too, if you noticed that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to draw
Yeah.
the line somewhere. You can't have a million things going home or everything gets lost in, as a current parent, if I have a million flyers
Well,
coming home,
yeah.
it will get lost in the shuffle.
Well, but I think like opening night, it would be great, and I know that they had to fight to get that in on that one too. But I think, you know, and I, just from what I'm understanding too, the school is upset with the PTO putting information out there that they don't want the PTO putting out. Don't know the whole story behind that yet, but I don't know. I think it's got to be. I know it's two towns working, you know, as one school district, but we got to get it back. I think the community's got to be able to get it out there. Because like right now, like I know just for instances, they used to send stuff home, soccer sign up, rec sign up, and as you get 50,000 pieces of paper. I remember that. But what happens is then you have one little kid that says, oh no, my kid didn't get signed up. So guess what? I'm on texting, hey, who's doing, you know, pre-K, boom. And you got the kids signed up, you know, but it gets community involvement is what it does. So,
It would be nice to get back to a small town feel
Oh, yeah,
where
Yeah.
you use common
Especially-
sense.
yeah. The recreational opportunities that we've lost over the years are incredible.
Like what?
Ski trips, using school buses.
yeah, they don't allow that anymore. They haven't allowed that for a while.
RSU won't allow the use of school buses to take the kids up to the mountain. So so instead what they had to do is they had.
Oh, I know my daughter did the ski.
Yes, they had to go and rent them from, and that got cost
It's cost
prohibitive, so.
prohibitive, yeah. So if you had a school bus,
I know, like Saturday morning
Swimming
basketballs and
lessons.
stuff like that too, just because it comes out of the kids' pockets is what it is, as far as renting it and stuff like that.
Do they
There's-
still do rec basketball on Saturday morning?
Mm-hmm.
But I think they have to pay for that.
do they do adult
For-
volleyball at all, or? some of those activities they do in other
Yeah,
communities.
but how do you know the school's the reason why that's gone? Like, that's what I'm,
They
if
want-
I'm on programs, then let's hear these things that we wanna
because
add.
Because they're gonna charge you to play volleyball.
Yeah,
which
is what
not
it is,
right.
and they
It's
said they
not
don't
right.
have that, they said some parents right now, can barely, buy the well, they give out the uniforms or whatever, but they can't afford it to pay the extras to sign the kids up, is what's happening,
Well,
So
they take them
rec-
somewhere else.
So rec before, well, where are they gonna take them that's free? Where else
Well,
are they gonna
the-
take them to do a rec program that's free?
Well, gym use used to be free.
Okay,
Right.
that's what I'm saying, I wanted
As
to
long
hear
as you
what
were
this was.
here within the hours of the custodian staff, you know what I mean? Like if you were here like after 8 or whatever, but we always clean up. Gosh, there would be like Odyssey of the Mind in each of the rooms. There would be Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. I mean, there used to be a lot of rooms filled up that you would actually have to like look for an empty room to be able to use, different functions and stuff like that. And I guess I want to see that back.
The argument, I have to come back on your initial one. The argument is that I can't take them somewhere else for free. It's not valid.
No, but you just said that take them somewhere else, so I was just,
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
you're gonna have to
arguing
pay.
that, I'm just asking where are they taking them that's at zero cost?
No, you're adding at the zero cost. They're gonna have to pay to take them somewhere
Oh,
else.
okay.
Why would they have to do that here, when we own the gym?
But she made a really good point too.
Yeah, but then if you're gonna pay to take them somewhere else, why wouldn't you pay to have them play Raymond Rec?
Because you're already paying for taxes and you're already paying for school,
Should
that
be a
this
s-
is the
should
school
be a
town,
service.
the school community school
So
is what
then
it
maybe
is.
the select board should put that as part of a benefit, that you'll pay the rec fee for all kids, like, if it's a town service, why should we
Supporting
be
the rec fee already. In the
I-
budget, we're supporting the rec
Okay,
department.
so let,
There used to be men's basketball up
Yeah.
here on Sunday night.
Yeah.
We walk into the gym,
No,
we
that
play
I
for 2
understand.
hours.
That I
Didn't cost
understand.
us a thing.
and I get that, I totally get that, but I was just saying the take them somewhere else and you still would have to pay for them, so why would you take someone somewhere else if you can play right here?
Well, that's exactly the point we're making.
Well, it never used to cost
Right.
anything, is the
So
point.
you had rec for little kids and it cost nothing? There was an
Did-
organized recreation program
And you
that
didn't have
cost
to
nothing.
pay to rent the gym, yes.
To rent
But
the
it
gym
costs
or use the
nothing to
buildings,
the
nothing.
families.
Well, it costs to register the kid, whatever
Yes,
that was.
each
So
kid
it was
has-
not free.
I mean, it was a nominal.
But it wasn't what you guys have now as a price list, there's a
Yeah,
price
for
list for
gym
everything
rental.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to use the gym and stuff like that. But she brought up a really good point. She's on program, so she's looking to add, see?
But
Fine.
that gym was
Adam.
paid for by the town,
Right.
voted on at a 1985, 86 meeting row.
Yep.
To put in that size gym.
I'm not
for the
arguing
town
that.
to
I'm just
use.
saying if there was a free recreation basketball program before, then let's factor that into our programs.
Go ahead, put
If
it in.
there was, I get the bus thing for the ski program, let's factor that stuff in. I mean, maybe it's free to our families, which is outstanding, but there's still gonna be a cost.
I would assume, Kate, that you, being responsible for programming, would come up with a nice big list.
But let's kick back to Joe's
Then we
here.
get back to reality,
I mean, like
And
I
what, it all gets cut?
No,
Cause it costs too
no,
much, and then
no.
my list is what we have, stuff we have now.
I think that 11,500,000 that I threw up on the board is way over what it would cost us to run these schools.
Even though you projected that if we stayed in,
would
right
be
now, we'd be at
11.3.
11.3,
Right,
but in
and I
2
think that's
years, we'd
way
be at
over.
11.4.
If we stayed in, I think
Yeah,
we'd be
but that
bringing in a
that
lot less.
projection is somewhat meaningless because it's taking a fixed number and just
Right.
escalating.
It's making an
Which
assumption
is
that I
not-
can't
Which
see.
is not doing
Right.
what he's doing now, which is saying, okay, based on population, head count and whatnot, using those figures, we're going to establish what that number is. Going forward, yes, you're gonna have escalators on there, but it's not gonna be escalated from the fact when we had all those, everything was completely full, you had 3 grades of each and things like that. So, that's why you can't take that and say that that's an absolute. All he's
Well,
done,
they're
all he's
projections, I know they're not
all he's done there
absolutes.
is taken some things to create some baselines that
Right.
says, okay,
That's all it is,
Yeah.
a baseline.
and then at the end, once everything, once he's established, once they establish, okay, here, based on inputs from the school, based on this and what, here's where we feel it will be. And now, recognizing that going forward, yes, that's gonna increase.
No, I understand
Or
what a
decrease.
projection is, I know
Because I
that
can
that's
see
not
some
the actual.
decreases.
It's just, if we're using projections for both comparisons, the math doesn't make sense still.
Well, unless you have the exact student population count of each grade,
Which I don't have.
right, I don't know how you can make those projections.
I just threw a percentage out there
Right.
based on historical.
Well,
stuff.
Right,
That's-
exactly.
Right,
That's
I
it.
understand that.
And that's just saying if
Totally
you have
get it.
status quo, no growth, you have same number of kids,
Right.
this is where you would be.
Right.
But we don't have,
No,
Some
I
of the
get it. Oh, I
details
totally,
behind
I
it.
understand that they are projections. I totally get that. I really, really do. But
I'm
I'm
not sure you
saying-
do, because it's not a projected number. It's
You
not
just said
meant-
they're projections.
It's not meant to be a projected number, it's meant to be a baseline number. If we did nothing, we would be here.
You did.
But it's a projection.
All right, it's a projection. Okay, I'm not gonna beat around this projection, okay.
But
Okay.
but if it's a flawed projection, because it
Right.
doesn't account, it does not account for a decrease in population, it doesn't account for all those
So then
things.
you-
So-
School
can-
population, school.
You can easily get those enrollment numbers.
Yeah.
And we can have a non-projected, projected number.
But I mean, what he had to do was establish some bases that you can work from.
Get a ball,
Because,
yeah, gotta get on the field somewhere.
You
Right.
Oh, I get it.
you either start with a blank sheet or you start with something that people can throw stuff at and say, I don't like that. Now you work from there, and that's what
Just
he's,
fine, it's fine. Told you that, thick
Let's go
skin.
back to Joe's comment that keeps coming up too, is I know the town paid for the gym. I know the gym is supposed to be there, but in any situation where money is raised and something is donated to the town, there's still costs to maintain it and run it. So they do have to charge for the lights and the heat and the well-being, and I get that. What I want to see is it more open back up to the public again, is what I'm saying. So on that one, didn't mean to open up another can of worms on that, but I think there's a lot that we can save. So we're not having our cleaning services. You know, we have the cleaning right now, and I think it's still possibly it was, and it got dropped. But we have someone clean the town offices and the schools. We can have somebody, share on that services and stuff like that. There's a lot that each individual organization is doing that we can combine.
Because what we do, what she's talking about there was, that was part of that one Raven concept, and what happened. We did some of the maintenance there. They had some of the custodial people do the cleaning in there, so
Yeah,
And
each side
they
was getting
dropped
something
that.
from it.
Well,
Everybody's happy.
they took away the plowing from us, which was I think we were only charging like $7,000. And
they
then-
took it away to pay more.
Pay a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Made a lot
now,
of sense.
Yeah, I
but
think
now we
I
got
think
it
the figure
back
that I
again,
heard
and
was
I don't
like
even know what the
40
cost is.
45 or 49,000.
Yeah.
It was like big, huge.
It's amazing.
All right. And so,
We
from a
have not-
programs, you haven't met yet,
Nope.
so you're gonna try and, now that people are back in town.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little overcommitted professionally right now, but I will do my best to. I think if we can just go with a baseline of what we have for programs in place, then let's work
But
off
it's,
that.
I mean, the thing to look at it is say, okay, here's where we're at today. Where do we think we want to be, and can we get there? Because, if all you're doing, if all you're gonna do is just, do a rubber stamp of what you got now, you're missing some opportunities.
I'll take input. I honestly don't have a lot of time to put effort into something that I don't believe in. And I'm not willing to take a lot of time away from my family. That's really important to me to do this, so.
So you don't think it's valuable that we could have a better system here?
Oh, I do. I'm just saying finding time right now
Okay,
is
but,
is
I mean,
hard.
'cause, if people don't see value in doing something that's can be better, then, that's fine, but never complain later. Never complain when all of a sudden everything explodes and the services get worse and things get bad. You lose your ability to complain about it.
Well,
That's what they have to understand.
let me throw something out there then, and don't mean this the way that it's gonna sound.
I'll say it. Want you to say it then?
What Joe meant to say was?
No, yeah, but
Marshall told Joel to say it.
and I respect your decision.
Oh, no, and I totally
really
understand
do.
getting pushback, I'm fine.
I
I'm fine.
no,
I really am.
what I'm asking for then, because we are now to the point that we have moved on to the next step as to what we have to give to the public. And I don't feel from your comment now that you can give that 100%. So I am requesting that the school board then put somebody else in this
I
position.
don't know that you're gonna.
But they have to, because it's not fair to the public, it's not fair to us, to the work. So I am requesting that something else be done then. And it's not against you, please understand that.
I'm
Because you just said that for something you don't believe in, you don't want to put the time in. And right now, what the people are griping about and complaining about is the lack of programs and services.
Right.
And you've got the ball on that one. And I think what you're doing right now is just saying, hey, I'll get to it when I get to it. And again, please don't take it the way that it's sounding.
No.
Because it's not. But I need to know that. I know you were forced to be on here. I get that. I understand that.
As with the other two members.
Yeah, I
But
mean, you know,
but still.
but I mean, honestly, no one from that school board's gonna come in here with an open mind because
No, they're not.
they've been brainwashed
Right.
by the administration
Right.
of the school. So.
Not
I-
only the administration of the
Yeah,
school.
and
So,
other people.
Yeah.
But I think we just need to move forward.
I know that, and that's what I'm saying, but how do we do that when we can't even have some kind of a presentation?
Then what we do, I'm gonna put a date out there, I need something from programming by December 31st.
That's
If I can't have it, then I'm gonna
think
put
that's
out
great.
what's there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I understand. No, and again, I'm not, I had to drive up to Augusta today, spent a lot of time thinking in the car. I'm not trying to be a real pain in the you-know-what. I'm really,
No.
really not. It's just something, there's a lot going on right now for me, work-wise, and
And so even
Yeah.
in that case too, maybe it might be better for Anna or Janny to.
yeah, well, and then, but
to-
everyone's busy. Everybody's busy.
I know,
So,
we all are, yeah, right.
I totally
so-
recognize and respect that, so.
So, but I guess what I'm
I
thinking
like
is.
Marshall's, I'm
Okay.
yep.
December 31st, programming. Or
I
I
just think
move
that's
on.
what people need
Yeah.
to
Yeah, no,
see.
no.
And no complaining. If I move on, no complaining.
Hey,
See what happens when you cross over to the dark side of the select board? You become not. That's what I told myself. You're swearing it. Like when he
I
swears.
mean, workshop, we've been kind of integrating that in
It
there,
is-
so there's,
What?
I say, we've had a workshop session in there, but essentially it's what we've been discussing, so. Next meeting,
Mark said, I think October 15th and the 13th.
No, he had 2 days that,
He couldn't do it, is what I mean, yeah, 15th and
Dan,
22nd
not
maybe,
Mark,
or,
Dan,
that was Dan.
yeah.
I'm gone from the 20th through the 24th.
October?
Yeah.
I'm going
he
from the
can't do
8th
the
to the
15th or the
16th.
22nd.
Which one?
He can't do the
15th or the 22nd, he can't do.
Yeah, I can't
17th
do that,
looks
right?
good.
No, I can't do it from the 8th to the 15th.
Well, the 8th is the select board
17th.
anyway. 8th is select board,
I'm
so.
leaving for Canada next morning.
So it would have to be either, well, the first is kind of too close. So it would be the 29th.
Yeah, I'll be out of town.
What about the 17th?
I can't do that either.
Well, yeah, 'cause that's Columbus week, so. Well, I mean, Dan said, would
The-
he,
15th and 22nd.
so what about the 21st?
I'm out.
Yeah.
You're out?
I can only really do Tuesdays. Unless it's a Wednesday that we don't have a school board, but that's even, can be touch or go.
I'm open the whole last week of October, so.
Is that Tuesday then, last week?
That, the
I'm out of
29th,
town
but
that,
she's
I'm
out
out
of
of
town.
town, sorry.
That whole week you're out of town?
I'm out of town Tuesday to Wednesday.
What about the first week in November?
But I could do the 28th of October. That Monday opens up.
Did you say you're going, Joe, the 28th?
No, I'm good the 28th.
So the 28th is, would work for people?
Yeah.
Okay, 28th. Subject to change. 6 o'clock still work for people?
6 o'clock, works for me.
All right. If there's nothing else, meeting is adjourned.
Great. The mic shut off.
Welcome to the September 11th, 2019 Planning Board meeting of the Town of Raymond. The Planning Board will come to order. Can we please have a roll call?
Mike D'Angelo.
Greg Foster. Bruce Sanford.
Ed Kranich.
Kyle Bancroft.
Kevin Woodry.
The board has a quorum. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you are unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have one item, and that's the Keystone Investment Group additional duplex residential apartments proposed for 1455 Roosevelt Trail. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances or state law. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand at the microphone, state their name, address, and affiliation with the application. For, opposed, neutral. All persons speaking shall address the chairman. Any conversation must be held in abeyance until after the board has formally adjourned. After the board votes on the merits of each application, it will prepare a written notice of decision. Because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regards to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court or as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of the board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual right to file any such appeal, you must be certain that the board's record evidences your appearance this evening in opposition and the basis for your opposition. Okay, new business, we have Keystone Investment Group.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Justin Rome. I'm a civil engineer with DM Roma Consulting Engineers, here tonight representing Keystone Investment Group, LLC. The application is for sketch plan review on 2-acre piece of property located at 1455 Roosevelt Trail. Property currently has a existing 2-family duplex structure on it, which is the kind of the light brown building you see in the middle of that diagram there. There's 2 other structures on the property that are outbuildings. One's a garage and a shed structure. Again, the lighter colors there. The lighter gray color represents the existing driveway that comes in and serves the development. So there's 2 levels to this existing duplex building. So there's a parking area on the lower level, and there's a driveway that comes up around to the upper level for parking up there as well. The proposal is to add an additional duplex building on the rear part of the property. We're going to be widening out the driveway to accommodate 2-way vehicles and emergency vehicles better, get it out to 20 feet wide, and we're going to add parking spaces to the pavement extension in the back. We're adding 6 spaces there because we're kind of displacing a couple of vehicle parking spaces where they're going to use them. They have exclusive use to that driveway in the back, so that's going to now be a kind of a dedicated driveway for additional dwellings. So we're adding those spaces to the bank of parking in front of the new building. This applicant is the same applicant that came forward and proposed the 2 duplexes on the lot to the east of this, which the board had approved. So that project hasn't started yet, but this is kind of a similar arrangement. But in this case, the building is going to stay, where in the other case we were having 2 brand new structures. We've had a septic system designed in this location right here. If you recall, the replacement leach field on this property is in this location, so we've got kind of the 2 septic systems in the same general area here, with the wells kind of flanking on the outsides over here, so keeping those on the outside, septic's in the middle. This site is much less steep than the other site was. I know we had some concerns about grade on the other site. We do continue to climb up the hill here, but we have a much flatter transitional period along the roadway, and then you know, we have a slightly steeper area here, but none of this driveway is as steep as what was next door, so it's a better situation. Stormwater still remains to kind of just come down the hill. We're going to kind of divert it around the outside of this building here. As it's coming down the hill, we're going to direct it over to a level spreader in this area. This area is predominantly grass area. It's not as heavily wooded as the other site was. So we are sizing this out as a meadow buffer, even though there are some trees down through there, but we're using the meadow buffer methodology, which requires longer berms and a longer flow path length for that. So again, we're directing as much water as we can coming down the hill into that buffer area. This is the existing leach field for this lower building, which is going to stay. So this new leach field is only going to serve the new dwelling. Other than that, it is a somewhat similar project to what was right next door to it, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
We received comments from our staff. Do we want to address those, Jim?
Yeah, we looked at this, and to Dustin's credit, it's very almost identical to what we had just approved on the abutting property, so a lot of the comments are very similar in nature. Based on the sketch plan, we'll need to show proof of the wastewater system. And the only other question I had with that, similar to the other side, was do you think we'll need to build or drill an additional well? Because I know before we weren't sure whether we had capacity, so if we do, we just got to make sure we got adequate separation between that and the septic. And I don't know if there's anything with the 2 septic systems being close, if there's any separation requirement. I don't think there is, but okay. No. To your point, I know you've got a buffer. We didn't see that on the initial sketch, so we'll want to see how you're going to handle erosion control and stormwater runoff. Sounds like you have a plan in place for that. I think the biggest issue, though, is that even though the grade's not as steep, I do think that, and maybe even the fire department's comments, which we received, there may be some concern about the amount of area we have to turn around a fire truck. They were going to utilize that access to the garage as part of the fire truck turnaround. I don't know if that's long enough for the fire department. I think they have a similar comment or concern, so that may be something we just need to look at or maybe work through with the fire department. As far as it goes with this design, we'd be looking for the very same design as we did before, 20-foot wide paved width with small shoulders. I assume there'll be some kind of association, or whether that be all under one ownership for the maintenance?
Yeah, single ownership, right?
Single ownership, okay. We'll want to see utility connections, services. Right now it's overhead power to the existing duplex. I think we prefer to see underground, but we just need to know if you're going to drop a pole in or how you're going to get it to that other duplex. I don't know what the condition is. I haven't been up there, but I know we were going to replace the other culvert on the other driveway. I'm guessing that these probably are similar in age. I don't know if it's what the condition is, but we're probably going to have to extend that, and that's just be something to take a look at the condition. Does it warrant to add another section of pipe, or do you need to replace the whole thing? That's the same as we had before on the other one. Talking to the fire inspector Wayne, I think he's looking to have the existing duplex sprinkled. Definitely the new the new duplex will need to be sprinkled as part of our fire protection ordinance. And then just delineating parking spaces and making sure we have enough parking spaces. And then obviously, similar to the other one, is we'll just need to confirm what the E911 address will be for this, for these units. I'm guessing, what do they do on the other ones, A, B, C, D?
I'm not sure if they've been addressed yet, but,
Probably wouldn't until we got a permit.
Have the same address,
Well, we'd have to talk with the 911 addresser, and we'd probably have to see what would work for up in there.
Yep.
Usually when we get a building permit before it can be released, we give it a address at that time and make sure it's okay with the fire department as well.
And if that, we've been talking about that as one of the changes going forward for new applications, is trying to get the addresses for multi-units or subdivision lots on the plan. So if we can, it'd be great to look at that so we can get it on the plan. It just makes everybody's life a little easier up front when we're trying to assess utility connections or locations, and just general, knowledge of the location. So that's all we have. I mean, these comments are almost identical to what we faced with the other site. The good thing is to Dustin's note, the driveway is not as steep as the other one.
Okay, this application didn't come in time to meet the deadline for public hearing?
No, I don't think they had, it'll be the next,
So
when they
it'll be
come in.
next meeting?
I think he's planning on coming in.
Correct. Yeah,
Very
so-
soon, and the next meeting would be the public hearing for this.
Okay, so tonight we can't take any action even as far
No,
as
but you can
accepting
have
the
an open
application, but
dialogue.
we can, the board is, welcome to ask any questions or anything that needs to be clarified.
I've got one question. How are you plan on handling the sheet flow to the west as it approaches that existing driveway that may not be long enough for the fire truck? Are you going to put a storm drain in to the north and run a pipe underneath it, or just kind of trench down and run a culvert underneath that driveway, or what?
Yep, so the initial idea here was to just basically just run the water over the pavement area and let it continue to run down the road and then get it off the road this way. So that was our initial intent. This plan wasn't in your packets, but I just brought it with me tonight just to kind of facilitate some of these questions. So that was our initial intent, was to just bring the water around the building here and then just run it over the driveway and then get it off the pavement quickly, in this area, and then bring it to the level spreader. Because this would be a pretty long culvert to get underneath all that area.
Well, yeah, I mean, it looks like it'd probably be, 35, 40 feet long.
To your point though, Bruce, I know on the other one, we had a discussion in the back of those units about an under drain, because you have all that water coming off the back of the hill. So
Right.
maybe that might, lead us to make some kind of drainage improvement.
Something, I'm just concerned that all that water running across the driveway in a freeze condition is just gonna be it's gonna be a slippery mess.
Okay.
You might wanna think about that a little bit.
That's a good point.
Oh, and as far as the driveway not being long enough to the garage, it's up to you to design it. I'm just wondering if you could just shift all those 6 parking spaces 9 feet to the right and lengthen the driveway by 9 feet, and you'd probably have a 40-foot approach to the front of the garage instead of 30 feet.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way we kind of looked at it, and we'll make sure the fire department's okay with this. I mean, we thought this was going to work for most apparatus. If you had a ladder truck or something that came up in there that needed big space, certainly, this area here as long as we strike this out so that this area remains a fire lane in front of the building. The thought was that, you know, this could be used if
Oh,
if
back down
absolutely
to that
necessary.
area.
Because that way no one's backing out onto the
As
road.
opposed to just pulling
As
into the
opposed
front
to
of the
doing this,
garage and backing out.
You know, you could back into this space and then come right out that way.
Well, yeah, that's up to the FD to.
Yeah, and I think the thing too with that lower parking lot, we'd have to see how it's striped too, so how, what you
Yep.
have for a lane that's left after, because people park on both sides of that, you may not end up with much of a
Yeah, and then
lane.
particularly with the water control, if that's a frozen condition in the middle of the winter, you know, so that's all the more reason to consider how we're gonna handle the water coming off the hill. Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments on it? Okay, do we have any other communications from Jim?
Not at this point. The only thing is, I know Bob's not here. One of the things, if he were here, he'd be looking to see how you guys are working on your comments about the road connectivity ordinance revisions that we're looking at. I know we've been busy, so we haven't we haven't done our homework either. But I think that's something that when he gets back, he's going to be, you know, poking the bear to get some initiation on that. And coming into the fall, it's typically when we start looking at our ordinance revisions. So along with that, if there's other ordinances that you think that need some sprucing up or have questions about, now's the time to start asking those questions. And we'll probably plan a workshop, you know,
Because I got a few.
towards the end of the year. We'll have a workshop where we can start ironing out the program for ordinance changes or anything we want to do with ordinances going into 2020.
Okay, sounds like we all have a little homework.
Yeah.
Look at that and
Yeah.
see what come up with.
Yeah, and with regards to this, I know on the other site, we did a site walk. I don't know if you want to do a site walk for this applicant. I think we have a good sense of what's out there now. I don't think it's necessary.
Seems like it has less challenges than the
Yeah,
other one.
yeah, so.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Do we need to move the table this, or is it not really?
It's not even an application. I mean, it's just an informal discussion at this point. I think the only question I'd have for Dustin is, you know, when are you planning on, when are you gonna have that application ready?
Yep, we were planning to drop it off today, but where we had the meeting tonight, we wanted to kind of make sure that, you know, there was any other last minute questions, so we're going. Yeah, so we'll have everything in submitted by the end of the week, so we'll be on for the next meeting.
Yep. If the board's fine with that, we'll put it on for the next meeting. I don't think there's a whole lot here that,
No, it's pretty straightforward.
okay.
Okay.
I move we adjourn. Second. 18 minutes, that's.
All in favor?
Not your record, but it's pretty close.
Motion passes, we're adjourned.
Welcome to the September 17th Board of Selectmen meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is approve the minutes from the August 13th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. New business. Consideration of supplemental assessment for farmland removal. Kurt?
Before Kurt starts, can you make an adjustment to the agenda, please? I'm
Oh,
so sorry.
God, we can't adjust anything.
I know. Kayla is here, so I want her to she's going to be attached to, oh my gosh, which one is she? Number I. If we can put I up to right after Kurt's done here. So she doesn't have to sit and wait, because her and Kurt have to go back to the office and get these papers knocked out.
Thank
All
you.
right? Cool.
Yes.
Thanks.
So after B, actually.
My name is Kurt LaBelle. I'm the assessor's agent for the town of Raymond. This agenda item is a supplemental tax for voluntary removal of farmland parcel. So the property owner that purchased the property about a year ago, it was previously enrolled in farmland open space program, and they've decided that they are not going to utilize the parcel for agricultural purposes, so they've requested a removal. We've calculated the penalty to be $581.80 for the removal of 8.8 acres from farmland. It's essentially 5 years back taxes plus interest. That's the prescribed penalty by statute.
What exactly, can you describe that? I mean, is farmland a certain price compared to regular, that they
Yeah.
want to make it more, residential?
Yeah, so there's a few use programs that the state allows, tree growth, open space, farmland, and working waterfront, where the law will allow you to value property according to that use rather than fair market value or highest and best use. And in the past, the state has made recommendations as to the value to be applied per acre. So orchard land might be $500 per acre.
Okay.
Cropland or pasture land might be $300 an acre, as opposed to the highest and best residential rate, which might be $1,500 an acre. So you just
So
have
this coming back would be then taxed at a residential rate instead of the farmland?
That's correct, yes. Yep.
Thank you.
I'll move the recommendation.
Second. All those in favor? Or actually, actually what we're approving is the supplemental tax certificate, right? Okay, so the motion needs to be for the supplemental tax certificate.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
No.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thanks a lot, Kurt.
Thank you. And I believe Don has
Yeah,
three, yep, awesome.
And then you want to go on to the
Yes, so the second item is the
tax commitment?
setting of the tax rate for fiscal year 1920.
Kurt loves this.
Oh, yes.
It's not,
So-
it's not fiscal year 1920, it's fiscal year 2020.
Fiscal year, yes, 2020, yes.
It said 1920.
Well, oh, yeah,
Well, it's a fiscal year
2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've, as you're probably well aware, we've had a couple of fairly sizable tax increases that have been warranted to the assessors, primarily the SAD tax, which is up approximately $900,000, and the county tax, which I believe has increased $46,000. Normally, what we've done in this case, town meeting has prescribed an amount of non-tax revenues at town meeting to be applied to reduce the property tax commitment. This year, things were done a little bit differently. The town meeting voters have elected to authorize the selectmen to use up to $300,000 in available fund balance revenues to reduce the tax commitment as they feel is necessary. So in the rate options which were provided in the memo, the first rate option of $13.35 utilizes the maximum amount of fund balance of authorized $300,000, and it represents the minimum tax rate that we can run this year and still cover all the charges, the school, the county, and the municipal budget. That's a 75-cent tax rate increase for this year. It would essentially bring the municipal portion of the tax about $100,000 lower than last year. So the use of the fund balance at the $300,000 rate would go towards negating some of the school and county increase, in addition to all of the municipal budget increase. Second option was a $200,000 use of fund balance. That would essentially make a flat tax on the municipal side for essentially no increase to the municipal portion of the tax, and it would allow the school and the county tax to follow through into the property tax rate. That's 10 cents more. That's $13.45 rate. And then we have a third option, which utilizes $120,000 of fund balance. It produces a rate of $13.52. It's a lower amount, but I believe that there's going to be perhaps a request from the town meeting to appropriate more fund balance in the future for a LED streetlight project. So it's something that keeps that in mind, that future use of fund balance. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I can answer any questions, hopefully, if anybody has any. Or I'd open it up to discussion. It's a little different, so you'd basically be authorizing a amount of fund balance which corresponds to a particular tax rate. All the rate choices utilize the minimum overlay that we could run with those rates.
Don, what is your... Well, I think from a philosophical standpoint, the charge of the Board of Selectmen as fiduciaries of the town of Raymond is to look after primarily the financial health and well-being of the town. And so obviously we are the taxing entity, so we roll in the county and the school. Now they've already factored in their intergovernmental revenues, their reserves, they've come to their final budgets. To me, I would do an option that flattens the tax rate for the town of Raymond portion of the budget, and also keeps in mind that we have our own capital needs and expenditures upcoming. So for my way of thinking, it would be the second or the third one. I know that the selectmen like to be as aggressive as they can be to keep the taxes as low as they possibly can, so I'd probably go for the middle one.
We do keep the taxes as low as we can, but then we get whacked by the school and whacked by the county. Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
it's
your
so
job
frustrating.
is to look after the town finances.
Control the controllables, that's all we can do.
Yeah.
Option 2 looks at, it says, okay, we've maintained the municipal budget. The increase you're seeing is due to the other two variables.
Right.
The only other thing, and I had said, well, look at option 3 also, because we know we've got $80,000 for the streetlights that's coming in there. So the question is, you've got one or two things you can look at there. One is you say, okay, if we go with option 2, then when we, then if the LED lights get approved by the special town meeting, that's going to eat a little bit more into surplus, which, the audit hasn't been finished, so we don't know if that there may be some freeboard in there too.
I believe there will be, but I mean, traditionally I have an estimate if you want to hear it. I think that the I think it was about 178,000.
It would increase.
And it would increase. But traditionally, we do use that for the coming budget cycle.
Right.
I mean, that's what we normally would use it for. It's in here somewhere.
I don't think option 1's there.
It's probably close enough. That's order of magnitude where it's going to be.
I think so.
But I mean, and what do we have for projections for increase in property values for new construction for next year? Do we have a handle on that yet?
No. Typically,
178,000.
we would wait and see what's permitted over the course of the fall, and then we have some idea. I will say that many of the more substantial residential projects that are underway are in the early stages, so I anticipate us picking up good value in the next year or two as those larger projects are completed.
Now this increase is mitigated significantly by the robust construction environment and the fact that, relatively speaking, from that standpoint, things are in a strong growth mode, booming. This could be, significantly worse if that weren't the case. And so this is, significant numbers.
She said 478, right?
478, and then 317 of that is attributable to 630 2018, and about 160 are attributable to 6/30/19. But the audit isn't done yet, but it's pretty close.
Okay. Mm.
Thoughts?
What does Kurt recommend?
Well,
He hates doing this because we get him. No, but we get him good on this. I'm not trying to do that to you. I'm just trying to see what you're.
yeah, I tend to fall in line with Don's thinking that the school and the county have sources of revenue that are not tax related, just like the municipality does, revenue sharing, use of fund balance and those things. They've utilized those things to the extent they feel necessary, and what we're left with is the property tax increase. It was approved by the voters. I would go with the second option.
I like that.
It's $70,000 less than you used last year. It doesn't utilize the full amount, and it wipes out the municipal budget.
But it gives us that buffer, knowing that we're probably gonna have a $70,000 hit, a $76,000 hit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
at the, when the budget finishes out, we're pretty close to using that full 300.
That's correct.
So, do you want a motion for option 2? Do you guys like option 2?
Yeah.
Would rather motion the number.
Yeah.
Oh.
You move the number.
I would move that we adjust the mill rate to 13.45 for the ensuing tax year.
Second.
Second.
2 seconds.
He didn't hear me. I didn't say very loud. That's fine.
Yeah.
He's not-
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried at the 1345.
1345.
Okay, so the request was to move item I up to
Yeah.
now, so that
That was easy for you, Kurt.
I know, that's good.
we didn't beat you up as bad as last year.
So we are going to leave the warrants at this rate with Kathy.
Okay.
And if the board could, if they have time to circle in through the town office tomorrow to sign the warrants, then we'll issue the warrant out to Sue Carr for collection.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Consideration of communication strategy.
What page was it?
It's page 2 of the notes. But
All right.
let's see, wait a minute.
I have my big notebook.
PDF open, Marshall, if you click on the index, it will take you there.
I know.
I'm not
I
trying to do
can.
that because I moved it into
Oh.
Okay.
See, you got all the
Ready?
Yep.
groundies.
All right.
You're on.
I got a few down.
Okay. Ready, Sam?
It's time.
Ready?
Ready.
I just shushed them. Okay, I had brought up to the board at a previous meeting a communications person, because one of the biggest gripes we hear in this town is that the communication's not getting out there. People are still filling out their surveys, and the big one is the Eagle, that the people are choosing the most as far as getting their news. So what I'm bringing to the board tonight is a proposal for us to take 2 pages of the Wyndham Eagle for Raymond News. The Wyndham Eagle will set it up, print it, and get it to everybody in the town of Raymond. What I was looking for is a communications person to do this. This person would be the communications person for these articles, so they would submit them in to them. But I also want somebody to be able to update the town webpage on things like recreation. Like when you look up like Raymond basketball, you can't find out who's who on there. You can't find the Lions Club. And people need to have one source of information. So this person would be, we've talked to somebody and we went a different route. This person would do the newspaper articles, work with the Wyndham Eagle, Start updating the town webpage as far as connections and resources. Send out the newsletter, so pretty much the articles that are going to be in the newspaper will be going in like 4 different places. The newspaper, the town newsletter, the Facebook page, and the town website. So it's going to be one set of information, 4 different places. And the person that we have chose to do this, no, not you.
No, are you gonna make the announcement?
Yeah, Kayla.
That's
Kayla
what we need to do
is,
that.
has agreed to do this position. She's working part-time now, and she is going to take on another, we're thinking like maybe 8 to 10 hours to do it. She can do it from home. She can do it from the office. She knows the ins and outs of the town. She knows the deadlines. She is assistant secretary, vice president of the PTO, which is great because that is a huge connection. It's getting that news out there and getting her to start communicating. God, sorry, I couldn't think of the other word.
And she'd be a great spokesperson for the town in this media, not an oral spokesperson, but an external media person. She's the most optimistic person and happy person that I know. And she would project, I think, a very positive image of our town. And so I'm really excited about this and working with Kayla.
Well, let me add something on. To do 2 pages in the Wyndham Eagle is $400 a page. So it's going to be $800. We're going to do it once a month. The 3rd week, if it works out with the Wyndham Eagle. And we're paying now to put notices in there for planning board meetings, public hearings, whatever. Those will be included on those pages to help cut back that cost.
And so when you look at the cost on an annualized basis of the labor piece and the piece for the Eagle, for the actual space, less the avoided cost of the advertising, we're in, I won't say significantly, but less than what we were years ago with the Roadrunner.
To print it'd be like $9,600.
Yeah, we're less than the Roadrunner.
It's not 9,600 because you don't have.
To print it, I said.
Yeah, I know,
Oh.
but you're not. You're looking at a 12 month. You're not going to do it for 12 months this year. We're already 3 months into the year, so you're only 9 months this year.
Right. But
B was out of line with A.
Huh?
Sorry. Anyway, well, no, this for a year is what I'm thinking.
I
Yes.
understand that, but we're looking at what do we where our costs for this year. So
Yes. Oh, because you're ending at, I'm ending at December, but you don't end at December. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, my bad.
Yeah, you're talking about October through June.
Yep.
My issue on this all the way along is I love the idea. I think it can go as long as we have enough meat to put in the paper.
That's going to be a problem. We think there's going to be too much meat to put in
Unless you're
this paper
coming
for
up
2
with 28
pages.
font on everything, you know.
No, I think I'm agreeing with Teresa. I think we're going to have the opposite problem. Is going to be taking the Roadrunner, and admittedly there was some stuff in there that didn't need to be there, but at its peak it ran to 20 pages. So 2 pages is not a problem.
Very easily.
Well, and we gotta plan it a month ahead. So you've got basketball season coming for rec. You probably have fundraisers for the school. You have plays that are going on. You got town stuff that's going on.
Sign-ups for everything.
Exactly. There's so much stuff, and Kayla's going to be the one. So people, if they want to put anything, would be putting the requests into Kayla. She's the one that's going to have to figure out what needs to go in there. And then if she does have to put it in, she can put links in there. There's the library. There's the church. There's age friendly. There's so many things that we
This
can
is
put
all
in
of
there.
our external, social media as well.
Mhm.
So we're not talking just this. We're talking a lot of the younger people are social media is the thing. Some older people too. But one of the things with the Roadrunner that was very disappointing was that many people would see it, toss it. But I think the fact that it's embedded in the Eagle gives it a better chance of not getting tossed, getting a wider distribution of news and information out about our town. People in Wyndham will see it.
They're delivering
whether they
it.
want to see it or not, they'll see it. So I think it's a good thing, and will give us a wider distribution at a slightly lesser cost. And we're going to have to, as Marshall suggests, though, we're going to have to. we have the opposite problem, I think, but we're going to have to get this to be, high quality condensed information that's highly readable and is something that people look forward to, not something that they want to throw away.
Well, let me just throw it right out to you, Kayla. Are you comfortable that you can get basketball schedules and activities from the school? Because that's been a problem for us.
Yes, I am the vice president of the PTO, and as a parent with children in the schools right now, I get all of the handouts, flyers anyway already.
Which is huge.
Well, I understand that,
Well, but
but I
she
don't
can
want
call-
Chris coming in and saying, no, you can't do that.
But it's not Raymond, it's rec basketball, so it's not the school that's doing it, it's somebody totally
All
different.
right, okay,
Yeah.
as long as we
So-
can, as long as we can do it, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, again, I love the idea, it's just,
Yeah,
if we can
this-
get enough information, that's
Yeah,
fine.
the school calendar's public. I don't need their permission to
Yeah, once it's
post things on
yeah.
it.
And Kayla's up to speed, and I would say
Oh, I'm sure she
all of the issues that will
Right.
confront her, yeah.
Skiing will be coming up for, winter, you can get a hold of the person
Yeah.
in charge of that.
Yeah,
so-
I just got that flyer at the open house
Oh,
last week.
Yeah.
so-
see there, you good.
Yep.
She's got all the connections.
And we know Kayla,
Yeah,
too.
yes.
That's another great
Yeah.
thing.
What are you looking for,
Isn't it,
Teresa?
Kayla?
I'm looking for a motion for this to go forward, for her to do it.
Let's do it.
And just so everybody understands, it does mean that necessarily we'll have we'll be over budget on salaries slightly. We'll be over budget on advertising and things like that.
Well, we
which
knew
is-
that going in.
Yeah. Okay, just so that,
Yep.
We know it.
so
And then next year
everybody
we'll get
knows
it-
above board, because
Yeah.
when all of a sudden, the reports come out and say, well, why are we over on that? Just
We
so
have to
you-
think about the future, and
Yeah,
this is.
oh,
this is it.
I'm not disputing that, I'm just
Yep.
making, so that people will recognize that if we are over in those areas, that's why we're over in those areas.
And then we can put it in next year's, start working it
Yeah,
in the
it'll
budget.
be-
That'll be
in
part of the
next
budget
year's
process.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so. was-
exactly is the motion?
Oh, we're still talking this
We haven't
through.
made one yet.
So I'll make a motion.
Oh, let's make it, yeah.
I make a motion to have Kayla do our communications coordinator person starting October with once a month articles in the Wyndham Eagle, and she said that she would work with the Wyndham Eagle too to get set up deadlines and stuff like that. That's not part of the motion, take that out.
Let's get the motion clean.
I know, I'm just.
I'll read it back once it finishes, right?
But
Use
what
her
I-
la-
if
use her
you want my
last name in the
suggestion-
motion.
If you want my suggestion on the motion, it would be to create the communications position in the communications program.
You could have made that, that's great, I'll second that.
I'll make the motion. Ralph asked me to make that motion, so I'll make that motion.
And it's been seconded by Teresa.
Yes.
There.
Here, I
Discussion.
hear you go, the motion. All right, do
All those in favor? Opposed?
Okay.
Motion is carried.
I just want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Thank
I
you,
would- I would like
Kayla.
to ask that if it gets too much, then please let somebody know,
I will,
okay?
yes.
I've agreed to support her on that.
That's a downer.
And not if it gets too much, when it gets too much.
And-
As your
and-
kids get older and
Your
years
vaccination,
pass,
yep.
things are gonna change.
Yep.
You know, and this is a great thing for the town, so it's,
It
is.
it's,
It is.
may seem to be
Yeah,
a
it is.
small piece, but it's an important piece, I think.
Yep.
I agree.
So,
She said she'd reach out to when, if it gets crazy and
Okay.
get going, and everybody's offered to help up, and, yeah. Good, thank you, Kayla.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kayla.
guys.
Item C, consideration of resolution pertaining to the non-smoking on town property. Don?
Well, we've gone back and forth, ordinance resolution, so we have a draft resolution. Has everybody had a chance to review that?
Yes.
Does everybody like it?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like me to read it?
No.
No?
No, the whole thing.
It'll be-
Basically, what we say here is, this is the use of tobacco and tobacco products are a bad thing, particularly for young people at our facilities, and that the position of the town is that, we find it to be harmful, and it's something that's prohibited on our grounds.
If you guys have probably seen the news, I mean, the way the CDC is cracking down on the vaping, there's a lot going down with that right now, so any more that we can do to help,
So does
Stop
that have
it.
that in there as well? Is it smoking, vaping
that's what,
together? Because everything now, it
Oh,
doesn't
the
say
electronic
just
smoking
smoking, it says
devices.
vaping, and then it even
It
adds
does.
marijuana
It's in
into
there.
it. If
Yeah,
you're
and
a
this-
hotel and
Yeah,
all
but
that.
it says electronic
Electronic
smoking.
smoking devices.
Okay, but you got people that are gonna say it's technically not electronic, it's vaping, even though it is the same thing. I cover any kind of form.
I think it covers it, and this qualifies us to get, to be part of the Cumberland County Consortium of towns that are taking like action, and so the signage will be provided through a grant. And so once the resolution is in place, you know, we're on board with the other towns, and I don't know of a town that has said no yet, and so we'll be part of that group, and it will be consistent countywide, if not eventually statewide, in the way that towns view these activities on their grounds.
Okay. All right, so,
We
a
need
mo-
a motion to
a motion to
accept the
accept.
resolution.
there you go, what Ross had said.
I'll
Motion to
second.
accept. Thank you.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
All right.
Okay, consideration of warrant for special town meeting on October 8th, 6 p.m. Don?
Okay, so we have a proposed warrant article to see if the town will vote to appropriate monies not to exceed $78,000 from undesignated fund balance in Friends surplus to replace the leased Central Maine Power streetlights with high-efficiency light emitting diode in Friends LED town-owned streetlights. The Select Board recommends, does not recommend Article 2. The Budget Finance Committee recommends, does not recommend Article 2. So that's what we have for a warrant article. October 8th, I think we have now finally got a Budget Committee meeting scheduled for next Tuesday at 7. So we'll get a Budget Finance Committee recommendation. But that is the special town meeting warrant, and that's the money that was being discussed earlier in context of the tax rate setting.
Okay, so there's
Should it
actually,
be approved?
so there's actually two actions that we have to take. The first is to authorize the special town meeting, and then the second is to make a recommendation on the article.
Is there a 30-day waiting period on the, from one to the other?
No,
No.
Okay.
and it could all be in one motion if you wanted it to be.
I think by the time this hopefully eventually gets approved on the 8th, we will, I don't think we'll be the last town, but I know Wyndham has already approved. I believe that Standish is a November vote, quorum's already approved, so we'll be the third town in our group to approve it. We're trying to stay with the pack to get the benefit of joint pricing. There are various consortiums and groups. Casco's now joined in with another group, Cape Elizabeth and Yarmouth and some other places like that, but our group is Standish, Gorham, Wyndham, Raymond.
All right, motion to accept the special town meeting warrant.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, it's found that. Now, to make a recommendation on Article 2, to see if the town will vote to appropriate monies not to exceed $78,000 from the undesignated fund balance surplus to reduce, or to replace the leased Central Maine Power streetlights with high-efficiency light emitting diode LED town-owned streetlights.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Great.
Okay, who's going to do the quitclaim deeds?
I can,
You want them? There are
yes.
5 of them.
All right. Motion, it's a motion to accept the quitclaim deed of, right, okay. All right, I have a motion to accept a quitclaim deed of James Carroll, book 34140, page 337, and book 35872, page 258.
Second.
We had a Chinese guy.
Oh, you moved it, it's been seconded by Lonnie.
Yeah.
Discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried.
All right. Motion to accept quitclaim deed of Charles B. Knight, book 33,358, page 187, book 34,141, page 31.
Second.
Discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Motion to accept quitclaim deed of Charles B. Knight Jr., and Robin Knight, book 35,065, page 37.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Can we hold on for a second? What was the amount on that one?
It's not saying.
That was the one that
Because
was,
of
that
page-
was the one that was, it had to be redone because the original
Yes.
didn't have both names on it.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, all in favor, we did that one? All right.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Motion to accept quitclaim deed of, okay, Roger Y.D.?
Yep.
Okay, and Selena M. LaBranch?
Yeah, both of them are LaBranch.
Oh, LaBranch, I didn't see this up here, I'm sorry. So Roger LaBranch and Selena LaBranch. Book 32,517, page 48. Book 33,358, page 209. Book 34,141, page 28.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Last one. Motion to accept quitclaim deed of Beth Ann Hurd and George Shivari. Okay, just quite a few. Book 29,838, page 42. Book 32,517, page 114. Book 35,065, page 30. Book 30,940, page 156. Book 33,358, page 179. Book 35,913, page 202. Book 31,729, page 73. Book 34,141, page 16.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
All right.
So the important thing here, all taxes, interest, penalties, and so forth, paid in full, conveyance to for prior owner.
Sue Carr is just killing it. She really is.
Yeah, she's doing a good job.
She's doing great.
Yes, she is.
All right. Agenda.
Okay, next item is discussion of remote meeting participation by board members and consideration of change in the select board bylaws. This kind of came to light when requests came in for remote attendance at meetings, and in doing some research, it's been found out that the legislature actually has considered this a couple times and punted on it and not done anything on it. And the fact is, they're not saying it's approved, they're not saying it's disapproved, but by not saying it's approved, they more or less it's saying, you know, you're kind of where you are. In looking at the bylaws that the select board had, we had actually allowed it, so my recommendation is until that gets resolved back through the legislature, that we take that out of as an allowed attendance method here, so that we're, and with the hopes that that stays consistent across all the boards in the town.
I agree with you. I think we ought to leave it as is.
No, take it out.
That would be disagreeing with me. What I'm suggesting is a change to remove the allowance of that. So that attendance can only be by being personally at the meeting.
See, there was a meeting a while back, well, a couple years back when Mike was on here, that I had strep and we were doing voting and I was on my couch voting, is what it is. I think there's that and there's one other exception. I'm gonna put it out there. There's an individual that's gonna be leaving for 6 months. That's on one of the committees and still wants to be on the board and do it remotely. And I've actually had several phone calls, to be honest. So apparently this is being talked about outside of the meetings. And the question is, how can that be? If you're going to commit to a meeting, commit to it. Be there. You're not leaving for 6 months by choice. You know, if somebody's got work, that's fine. I get that. But 6 months through budget season is tough to be going the entire time.
That's all well and good. But what we have here is a request to change the selectmen's meeting, and only selectmen's meeting. We're not reaching out any further. And I agree with this change. I think it needs to happen.
Yeah, and, each board essentially has to do it, but,
Right.
there's a couple of danger items that I see in remote access, and they're technology related. You have a certain quorum that's required to hold a meeting. And if the quorum is just met by someone that comes in from remote, and something happens to the feed during that meeting, is the quorum now violated? Right. And so can the meeting continue? Not only that, but the way that they would be coming in there, there's an inherent delay between there, and you're making it very difficult for other people at the meeting to properly interface and whatnot. So it comes down to almost a best practices scenario.
If you have a quorum present, though, can you have another member outside that quorum? Yeah, the quorum
You
is,
need
but I agree
you
with
need
the
a
quorum.
minimum to create the quorum. If you started with a quorum and somebody leaves and you no longer have a quorum, and someone calls a quorum, that meeting cannot conduct any further business.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's
As long
Robert,
as the
that's
quorum
Robert's
is there,
rules.
yeah.
As long as the quorum is there, the meeting can begin.
Yes.
If someone leaves and you no longer have a quorum, and someone calls a quorum under Roberts, now the meeting has to cease because you cannot conduct business.
Okay, under those circumstances, I agree.
Agree with what?
That if there is a quorum, and some additional member calls in for remote with an opinion or with a discussion issue or whatever.
So meeting
then
quorum
it's
has nothing
okay.
to do with.
You would allow that to happen?
I would allow that to happen.
I have
But
a
if
problem.
there is no quorum, he cannot call in to make a quorum, he or she.
But I have a problem when I know this is just reflects on the select board. I get that. But if this is the time to talk about it, I have a problem if all the selectmen are sitting here, all the budget finance are sitting here, and all the people are sitting there in the audience coming to these things because they've been told to do it. And I've got somebody sitting on remote because they chose to go somewhere else for 6 months. Got a big problem with that. Big problem with that. So that's just my 2 cents. This is the time we're talking about it, and I get what you're saying.
Well, the other problem I have with this concept is that the people that elected me to sit here expect me to sit here. They don't expect me to go to Arizona.
No, exactly.
Or Florida or wherever it is. Right, Wendy?
And there are people that are willing to sit on here to do it. And if
Yes,
you
there
want
are.
to do it, then.
You're taking it away from somebody that had an interest in it.
So now, kicking it back to R again, I want to make a motion to remove this from the bylaws as far as the select board goes.
All you do is you make your motion to revise the bylaws as printed.
Right.
Oh my gosh, look at Lonnie even down there laughing.
He's true though. He's on his game. Smart man.
I just whispered to him. I said, "Rolf's the parliamentarian now. He's down here telling him what parliamentary rules are."
So is that the motion that you made?
It is.
Is there a second?
Just put my name
Yes,
behind
second.
it, please.
Okay, what are we, we're moving
We are moving to
the revision.
revise
This is
the
parliamentarian after my
bylaws
name.
to remove that.
Okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
Rolf is a very technical person. I get why he does it because he holds me to task
I know
on
I'm on the
things.
fence with it as well, but it's gonna be.
Okay.
He's there. You know, my
Next
Drove him
is,
nuts,
next
but I
item
wasn't
is
sure.
means we can go forward.
consideration of board representatives on committees and boards. Select board. So, we have,
Beautification, right here, these ones, beautification technology.
so we've got it, there's a number of boards and things that exist in there, and in their things, they ask for a representative from the select board to be an ex officio member of their boards. And so currently, we haven't really looked at this we didn't look at it last year, so.
Yeah, usually we do it every year.
Yeah, so, it should be kind of each year that we look at that, and so, beautification committee, Teresa was.
My apologies, I didn't even realize I was on the beautification committee, so my apologies to that group. I so apologize. But
Do you wish to keep that, or do you want to?
I can, but I'd also like to take the library from Lonnie if he can't do it.
Yeah, I definitely would give up the library. I don't give them nearly the attention they need.
I mean, that's fine.
And I could do beautification. I'm sorry, I totally dropped the ball on that one.
Technology, Lonnie,
have to
you're
bring
still
them all
on
hot
that.
chocolates I
I
did
think
last year.
that still has some good value for you to stay there.
Yeah.
Veterans Memorial Park Committee, Sam?
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
let you stay with that. Raymond Rec Board.
If you don't mind, Lonnie, I'd like to take that one.
The Raymond Rec?
Right.
Go for it. Are you good with the veterans?
Yeah.
You good with that?
The reason I want to take rec is because I'll also stay on Tassel Top, and we may be looking at both of those.
I have
together.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
The Library Board, Teresa, you want to?
Yep, let me know on that one.
MWAC. Currently, it's Mark Genrin with Don as an alternate. Any changes on that?
Well, I don't know, Lonnie may know about Mark's schedule, but, you know, between us, we cover it. Mark, you know, sometimes is not here during some meetings, but when he's not, I've been able to cover it, so I think he likes doing it.
I know he loves doing it, but he was diagnosed with cancer. So
Right.
he is up and down. Right now he's doing fantastic.
Sorry, Lonnie.
Yeah, so there is that variable, but maybe if we can bring that up at the next meeting and I can converse with him and find out what he feels and how he feels, and then maybe we want to see about having someone a second if he can't make it due to, it's not that can't make it because he's going to Florida, he can't make it because he's...
Right, yeah. No, I mean, because Don's.
And I think he does really good with it too. I think he does well with it.
Yeah, Mark always tells me when he's not able to come, and
Perfect.
so I had, you know, been able to cover every meeting that he couldn't come to. So I'm happy to continue doing that.
You can do that one.
But maybe
I don't see your name.
checking with him to see how he feels is the way to go. Yeah.
100%.
I can do
And I'll follow back up with the committee about the select
So
board.
we'll keep MWAC as it is right now. Tassel Top, Marshall, you want to stay there? GP Cog, we're not there anymore, so we don't need one there. Conservation Committee, did they want someone, and we just never appointed
That's
someone?
just that I could see, no one's ever been appointed to that. They didn't meet all of last year.
Okay.
So,
Well, I guess, we should reach out to them and see if they want someone to be there, and then if they do, then we can put somebody there. Cemetery Committee, there's no longer a Cemetery Committee?
No.
John Rand is gone forever.
All right,
No, it's conservation.
so can I have a motion to
Except
carry the
the,
appointments as amended?
Make a
So
motion to.
moved.
Yep, second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Let's see. Investigate recreational opportunities for the town of Raymond. Teresa.
my handy dandy notes again. I think I did. Hey, they work out pretty good. Okay, I'm bringing another idea. Actually, it wasn't mine originally. I stole it from Dawn and Nathan, but I'm running with it.
It was Nathan originally. We'll give credit where credit's due.
There you go. Dawn told me to run with it, so I
Is
ran
Nathan
with
still
it.
in town now? Or?
He is. Yeah.
But I think but to be fair, it's something that it's not a new idea. It's come
It's been
around
around.
several times.
Okay. The idea is to get a Parks and Rec director, is what it is. And by this person, I've been checking on the Standage site and I've been checking on Naples. Naples, on their budget, really kind of does close to what I'm possibly looking to push on this. You'd have one person that would be running the Parks and Recreation, and it's broken down into different categories. They would be in charge of Tasseltop, Jordan Bay, Crescent Beach. Then they would also be in charge of Mill Street Park, Tasseltop Park. Tasseltop Park is just my term of Tasseltop that we've been looking. One of the things Marshall mentioned at the last meeting, that Tasseltop is going to be doing some different things. We have that great big climbing unit that every year in our budget we put $35,000. We put the smaller unit down at Mill Street. in that back corner, for anybody that's been down there knows that it's swamp, and we just can't get that playground unit in there and waste that money, and when we're tired of putting dirt in the swamp. So Nathan's gonna make it look nice, so we started checking some other areas. Tassel Top Park is, it's gorgeous, it's flat, it's leased to the town of Raymond, and then the Raymond oversees it. And they've got all kinds of trails in there, and one of the things that has to happen is the beach can be closed off, but the access to the trails has got to be open all year long to people. That's what it is. That's what the state of Maine says. So as you pull in and off to the right, I want to put that big climbing unit there, and maybe some picnic tables for picnic areas. But the state of Maine will, you can get grants for up to 50% of whatever you donate. So if you donate $50,000, they can it's up to $50,000 for them. That's something we're working on. We're getting an architect in to design this because that's what they highly recommended to do. The other things the Parks and Recreation person would do would be one person in this town for people to go to for rec. You got soccer, basketball, ski program, baseball, softball. All those people would be underneath one person.
Right.
And then that way where, you know, when Kayla's doing her articles, guess what? Everybody will be turning them into that person, and then they can turn it in. The other thing that the Parks and Recs director can be doing is adding more stuff in. Age-friendly adult rec programs like the adult basketball. They can be working on the swimming programs. Hopefully if we get the school back or whenever, you can do movies on the back of, family night movies on the back of Jordan Small School that these people, snowshoeing. Bus trips, I think the library does now to, is it Camden, where all those lights are? Booth Bay, anyways, where all the lights are at Christmas time. Okay, yeah, Botanical Gardens. The other thing they can do is they can work with the school, the library, age-friendly, PTO. There is so many things, and on the Naples budget, they literally have it all broken out, what can be done. So I am proposing that we take what's there now at Tassel Top and not just make it the Tassel Top Beach anymore, but we incorporate it into the bigger One Raymond concept to utilize somebody overseeing these more, is what I'm
not sure that's what you really want to do.
Yeah, it is.
I think we're, yeah, but I think you're jumping
right
one
This is
step
my
ahead.
end goal.
Right.
Right.
Okay, but I think
There's a
the
step
first
we gotta
the
take
first step
first.
is
Right.
to let's sit there. Let's get a group together that's going to be able to define what that is. Define, put the whole thing together, because if you just someone listening to what you just said there says, "Oh, Raymond Rec just went away." Well,
No,
we're not,
did not.
Well, you're saying this person, all those things fall under them.
Well, no,
And so, but that's not what you meant. I know that's not what you.
Right, but my goal is to have this. The next step was what would be what I'm going to get from you guys is what is the first step? The first step would be put together a committee to start doing this. That's what I'm suggesting.
Teresa's, I think, shared her overarching vision of where she thinks it may go, but I thought the notion was on a step-by-step, it was to study
Right,
this.
that's what I mean. So now
So
we
it's a
could
study. I
Right.
get that this is typical for most towns. This is a typical
Right.
structure. But so what you want to do is have a study over the winter?
Yeah, because I think you want to get all these the stakeholders
Together.
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And let's how do we put something together
Yeah.
that's going to work across
All these platforms or some of these platforms?
Well, if I came to you with just that, you guys would have looked at me and said, where do you want to go with this? So I gave you the end thing here. Now let's work back and say, okay,
Right.
let's pull all these people in. Let's pull Age-friendly. Let's pull, all the people that are part of this and say, okay, let's sit down and get a committee together. And I talked to somebody earlier tonight to ask if they want to be on this kind of a
So-
committee because I knew we would be looking to do something like that.
So as a part of this, should we run an advertisement? Maybe we should have an article in our, newsletter, for lack of a better word, to see if people are interested in serving on a committee like this? Would that be something to do?
I think you have enough people just on this alone. Pull the rec people, pull the age-friendly.
Pull the people who are already serving.
I would, because these are all the people that are going to be involved in it.
Well,
And anybody else that wants to get on.
Yeah, I don't think it's inappropriate to to broadcast
Mm-hmm.
it out too, because you throw out.
So
the
invite
net
somebody from the different groups and then maybe put out a solicitation for a citizen representative too?
Or
I'm asking, I don't know.
I think we're going too fast with that even. I think what I would like to see happen, and I agree with the end result, There's no doubt in my mind that it should be under one umbrella somewhere. But I think we need to give the individual groups an opportunity to say what they'd like to see. And I think that Tasseltop has an opinion. I think that Age Friendly definitely has an
I
opinion.
think that's what we just said though, right?
Okay, but we
Yeah.
need to get those groups together first
Well, that's
before we open it up.
But that's why I said, and that's why I said to him, I said, don't open it up. Because
Right.
if you don't include these people, you're gonna step on some toes and you're gonna be like, no, these are the people that know the programs, know how we can pull it together
Right.
better and work it. So you take everybody that would be a part of this and pull them in, is what that first
Start
step
with
would be.
Age Friendly, Raymond Rec, Tasseltop, and who else?
Well, the Raymond Rec would be all like the rec people.
Yeah,
And-
but this
and
is a
yeah.
representative.
The library.
Who's the representative for Raymond Rec when it comes to budget time? I mean, Lee Walker did it last time, but somebody else did it. Somebody else.
As far as I know, she's
Oh,
still.
the guy,
Clark.
that was baseball, that's
It's
somebody else,
baseball.
yeah.
All right,
I think
so-
they all kind of have their own
So
thing.
should we,
That's fine.
Well, yeah, but you've got the overarching Raymond Rec.
Right.
Raymond Rec would be
Go ahead, Don.
skiing.
so, along with what Marshall's saying, so, over the winter, should we reach out? I mean, I'm saying we, meaning maybe Teresa and Dawn, to these groups?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and meet with them and
Yeah.
talk with them, should we do
Well,
that?
invite them to a little bull session and see if they have an interest in it. They
Yeah,
decide not
and
to
by the way,
come,
this
it's
is
fine.
something that's occurred at least twice
Yeah.
before since I've been here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, are you good with that?
Yeah, no, but I know if I would've came to you and said, this is what I wanna do, you guys would've said, well, where do you wanna go with this? Well, I gave you where I wanted to go with
That's
it.
fine.
And you
That's
know me when
fine.
I get an idea
But
in
we're
my
gonna
head
take
too.
baby steps here.
No, and I'm fine with that baby steps. I'm so fine with the baby steps. But
I
this
will
is,
say that Tasseltop has a board meeting Monday night, or Tuesday night, I think, on the 1st, and this will be a topic of discussion at that. And I will tell you that the chairman of the Tasseltop board has agreed that we can open up discussions.
I also think that as we progress into these new roles, especially the communication role,
Right.
we need to establish SOPs.
Right.
We need to establish, this is what you need to do each week or each month, or, and kind of a checklist, and again, it's more of an SOP that she's doing, whoever is following how the town wants it, as well as encompassing everything within the town, not just
Right.
bits and pieces that particular person likes to do.
Which is where it is
know.
now.
Yeah.
well, and because I'm looking at this right now, Mill Street, there is not anybody down there really supervising this except for Nathan and Don McClellan. He goes down there, cleans it up and stuff like that. Tasseltop is covered, but you've got Crescent Beach, you've got Jordan Bay Beach, which is 302 there. Again, it's when Nathan and his crew can get by there to do it. And one of the things Kayla's going to do is make sure all these rec people are. Actually, I just thought the Lions Club too, because I know that they would want to get in on that too. The rec, trying to make sure that people have access, and instead of all of a sudden everybody's signing up at the last minute or late and still getting their kids in because there's not that accurate information.
But that goes to a designated town employee, I believe, known
No,
as a recreation director,
no.
that would oversee all that. I don't think we can oversee this all with a committee. I think we're gonna.
No. The committee is there to make the skeleton that says, here's what
Right.
we want to be.
But the
They're-
end goal is
Ultimately, they're gonna come back with a recommendation that says,
We
we
need
need
a
to have
person.
this position created.
Okay.
But at that
That's
point,
fine.
you've got buy-in from all the
And that's where we
stakeholders.
need to go
And
first,
that's
is the
where we
buy-in
need-
from the existing committees first.
I have a conflict for Tasseltop meeting. Can you come to that?
You know,
Right,
I'll
so-
take it to the-
So we need, so
I'm going to the transportation firms.
where we're at now is to authorize the formation of a committee to start investigating.
Yeah,
Great.
step one.
Great.
We're going, we have a conflict. I can probably come for a short period of time. I don't know if we're needed at the Tasseltop meeting upcoming, but there's a transportation forum with Age Friendly,
I don't think there's gonna be an issue with Tasseltop.
so I won't need to be there.
No.
And she's going as well, I just found out.
I'm going to the transportation. Somebody called me today to ask me if I would be there for that meeting.
Need a
And
ride?
as a board, huh?
You need a ride?
She's
I'm
got
glad
her-
we're all sitting in between us.
She's got her broom.
Okay,
Ah.
okay, so,
Sorry, I
Um,
had to.
so are we in agreement?
So again, I'm not expecting you guys to I'm looking to, this is where I'm going to go and I'm going to stay after it until
Right.
we
Yeah,
get
and I
some.
think it's
And
very
where-
appropriate to
Yeah.
invite everybody
Yeah.
that's existing, hey, what do we wanna do?
Yeah,
Okay?
give Tasseltop a fair opportunity to come up with, you know, their,
We have a lot of, to me, it's like a big piece of a big puzzle, and we've
Yeah.
got a lot of loose pieces that need to be kind of,
Do we need a motion?
And it should, in the
I don't
very
think we
short
do.
term of it, as people are getting involved in it, then you really need to pull together a list, pull together an SOP
Mm-hmm.
to say, this is what is going on, is there any more?
Mm-hmm.
'Cause you might find that one person, especially if it's a volunteer, can't handle it.
well, but if,
They need
if you,
more than one.
well, right, but if you have
Maybe.
a parks, one person, and
Great
then,
idea.
then they're breaking it down per individual groups, you're breaking it down per the, you know, somebody as far as the beach goes, you know what I mean?
But we're not at that point yet.
Right.
No,
We're at
but
the,
we're-
we're at the
Right.
point now of, okay, let's.
Of discussion.
Right. The tasking right now is for Don and Teresa to work on pulling together
Okay,
this
let's
committee
go
to
ahead
start
with
the
it.
investigation, which will then ultimately report back to the select board.
But you realize we're not making any decisions, we're just throwing some ideas back and forth.
exactly.
You know what I mean? So we're talking this out more of what people want to
Yes.
see.
So we're gonna-
So I don't want you thinking that just because we're talking about this, that